Hey, welcome back to the Crash Space. My name is Andre. Thanks so much for tuning in. It is May 12th, 2026. It is a Tuesday evening, and we're in for a stream. It's a special stream tonight. We're doing something totally different. For those who are not familiar with the channel, maybe you stumbled upon this in sometime in the future because you're trying to look into a bit about what Ashes Ascendancy is. Here on the Crash Space, we mostly play a game called Marvel Champions, but this is a game that I've been kind of on and off playing for a long time now. And I just sleeved these cards like while the music was playing, so they're all falling over. I recently picked up Ashes Ascendancy, which is a relatively new product, and it is a way to play, well, you can still play competitive Ashes Phoenixborn, but you can also play against an AI. It's something that's been going on for a couple of years here. And today we're going to teach you how to play this game. And in a lot of ways, it's kind of similar to Marvel Champions. So we're going to do a full teach. We're going to play through. Again, this is the entire contents of the box is a standalone game. So we'll be walking through all of that. Hey, Pat, how's it going? The heck is this? The heck is this? Huge shout out to Pat and Chad, who's one of the big reasons that I have played as much Ashes as that I have, which isn't honestly that much. But I'll give you a bit of a historical breakdown on what this game is and what we're doing today, because there's a big history here, and I feel like I'm only 80% qualified, maybe even less, 40% qualified. We'll cut that straight in half to talk about the history of this game, because it's such a weird history. Because this game has gone out of the way to like redefine itself somewhat consistently every like 2 to 3 years. There's something new going on in Ashes, and this game now has been around for about 11 years. I think they celebrated technically 10 years just last year. So when this thing was announced, it was the 10-year anniversary of Ashes, and it's been a wild trip. It's like totally a different game in a lot of ways, yet somehow still the same game. Bento, how's it going? Blast from the past. Haven't heard anything about this game in a while. It's been trucking along from my understanding. Ashes Hype, one of the best games ever made. Hey, Steven, how's it going? Glad you like it. So just off the top to explain what we're doing today. Again, we're going to do a learn to play. I have my card image pull up here, so we're going to be able to pull up all the cards while we play and explain everything. The like sort of branding with the health totals of the Dragonborn, who is the villain we're trying to defeat, and ourselves, they're still in Marvel Champions land. I spent a couple hours trying to make them look like Ashes, and it just did not come up like a good use of time, because the scans I have here, as you see, they're pretty low quality, so I can't really like extract art assets and use them in a nice way, but they'll do. They'll definitely do, and we'll be able to pull up all the cards. So let me catch my breath. I'm so out of breath because I was sleeving furiously during the countdown just to get things ready. And I think we still have to sleeve up the Phoenixborn, or sorry, the Dragonborn deck. Okay, so this is Ashes. Originally came out as this. Ashes, Rise of the Phoenixborn. Plaid Hat Games put this out in, I think, 2015. This at the time was a really interesting card game because it was very pretty. It was a very pretty box, and the cards are very pretty. They largely look entirely the same. And this is a game that came out in 2015. I was in college back then. I just sleeved these. And it was generally a 1v1 card game, like a dueling card game where you build your own deck before a game, not different than Netrunner or Magic the Gathering, I guess, something like that, where, you know, you build a deck, there's some constraints in the deck, you draw a hand of cards, and you try and reduce your opponent's life points to 0, kind of how a lot of card games go. But the big thing that differentiated Ashes, not only are the cards like really nice and full art and have like, you know, very little border work and a lot of color, is that it was a dice game. So when you build your deck shows up with all the cards in the deck, but you also show up with 10 dice. Now there's different classes of dice, and you see I have some purple dice on the left. These are a new type of dice called, I forget the name of these. Oh my, what are they called? Not aerial dice. They're called, oh man, what are these dice called? They come in different magic classes, and from the original core set, I should not have sleeved these. These are astral magic dice. The ones on the right, these are artificer magic dice. And the idea is that these dice on their own, you always bring 10, and these are monocolor decks, so they're only playing one color dice, but you can bring any 10 dice you want in. And the cards in your deck will basically make you spend dice to fire their abilities. And so that's a bit of like a faction balancing thing. So cards that heal might require the sort of dice like nature dice that heal you. I think that's correct. I'm not 100% sure. But there's a whole bunch of different dice classes, and they've introduced some over the years. And these two dice classes are new in this box. So we have astral dice, which I'm not 100% sure what they do. They just seem to do a bunch of damage and give you some protection. I think that's what they do. And then these are artificer dice, which you have to like imbue and charge cards. And then these sort of mechs get a bit stronger, and you can do ping damage, and they're really kind of cool. Man, I should not have sleeved these right away, right before the stream. But yeah, that's a really big thing. So at the beginning of your turn, and you and your opponent trade actions back and forth. It's an interesting mechanic. You roll your pool of 10 dice, and then those are the resources you have to use. And each dice has 3 unique sides. So firstly, on 2 of the 6 sides, so 1/3 of the time you will roll a die that looks like this. This is the basic die. This is the standard unit. Now, 1 out of 2 times, so half the time you'll be rolling this, which is the class die. That symbol is dependent on the die. So the class die here is a gear. The class die here is kind of like a moon. This is the class die. And then 1 out of 6 times you roll the power die. And that's this bee here or this owl here. And different cards will have different costs. And generally the more expensive cards will require things that are rarer to roll. So a very powerful card might require 1 or 2 power die, while all the common basic cards will just use basic die. Now the important thing to understand is that everything counts downwards. So like you can use a power die, the best die, as either a class die or a basic die, and you can use a class die as a basic die. So you never can roll too high, but you can roll too low. Now, while that might sound frustrating, at the beginning of the turn you just roll bad and then you don't have a way to like play your good cards in your hand, it is very important that this game gives you a lot of ways to manage and not only re-roll your die. In fact, re-roll your die doesn't really happen, but just change the sides of your die. So you can pay a small cost and pick up any die you have in your pool and just choose the side. So there is mitigation, but there are starter turns where your roll will force you to do something different than if you had the best roll or the worst roll. So do keep that in mind. Let me catch up on chat a real bit. Got to sleep on a treadmill? Really work out your cardio? Oh, I don't know why I read that out loud. The initial game has a lot of cool stuff and was beautiful, but had some clunkiness that held it back. When they did the reboot with Reborn, they basically fixed any negatives the game had. The one game that was like, maybe we don't need ugly cardboard just because Magic has one. The key is mostly white cards. Yeah, the cards are very white cards. This back has been the same back for now a decade. This does feel a bit older, but the cards have continued to be like really, really striking. Now, that's a really nice thing to say, too, is that this game Reborn, like the name, the Ashes name, it did give a rebirth. It was about like 5 years into Ashes, I think. The game kind of shut down and it went out of print. Plaid Hat Games stopped making it, if I'm not if I'm not making this up. That was the point in time, actually, where I got the majority of my Ashes collection, because I wasn't playing a lot of Ashes. At the time, I was playing a lot more Netrunner, as you might have guessed, and other card games like Doomtown. And so I picked up a whole bunch of Ashes when it was out of print really, really cheap. And I actually got a full like first edition collection. And then at some point they did, I think it was a mixture of like through Team Covenant and maybe other crowdfunding, but mostly Team Covenant, if you're familiar with them. They rebooted Ashes and they made it now Ashes Reborn. I think if you go on Board Game Geek, Ashes Rise of the Phoenixborn doesn't exist anymore. The entry is now Ashes Reborn Rise of the Phoenixborn. And what they did is a thing that like other card games like I play have never done this. This game is like so gung-ho, not only about errata, but like the most fundamental errata. So they took this game and what they learned of printing this game in 5 years, and they basically said, okay, we made a lot of mistakes. Of course you did. When you put out your core set, nobody's really played the game before. There's a lot of fundamental structural mistakes that knowing what they knew 5 years later, they would redo things. And so they just said, we're rebooting the game. And they released Ashes Reborn, which comes not in a white box, but in a black box. And it basically had a lot of the characters and a lot of the cards from the original core set and the original cycles, but rebalanced. Some cards were deleted. There were new cards, but basically said, hey, this is kind of take two. And from what I understand, take two was so much better. They also gave out, and this is why I picked up, is they give you out a 1.5 like update pack. So you could take your cards from Ashes 1 and the new cards from 1.5 and just remove the cards that didn't work anymore and add the cards that worked. And basically rebuild a new, season 2, chapter 2 core set without having to buy the whole thing again. That's what I did. Since then, I've played very little Ashes. In fact, I actually got into Ashes because I played games in college with my friend there, Pat, in chat, and we had just like the best games. It was such a charming game. And you'll see why. It's because this game has a really interesting, tight economy system. In some ways, it's kind of like Marvel Champions, where every turn you like redraw up to your hand size. And so the big question is, how do you take your 5 cards on the hand and your 10 dice and outmaneuver your opponent? Notably, this game also is like not exactly like a game that ramps up in mana like a lot of other games do, where like there's no strong end game. You have to kind of be scrappy the whole time. And notably, this game has these units that are Conjurations, and these units, which I chose to sleeve in a different sleeve, are cards that you can summon over and over again. So as opposed to like only playing allies from your deck, where if you don't draw an ally, you have these units that you can just replay over and over again as long as you have the dice for them and as long as you have the ways to summon them. And so the game just has like this very different texture, and especially because you're trading actions back and forth. It's not like I take a full turn, you take a full turn, like Magic or other card games. It's like very much a bit of a puzzle, where like now the timing of when you do things, like, oh, if I play my unit, you can attack it before I can attack with it. And then this becomes its own sort of puzzle and its own sort of math. So that was always really, really charming. Let me just catch up on chat some more. Hey, 9 down, I went looking for this a few months back. It was out of print or something. This I got just in retail. I'm pretty sure this Ashes Ascendancy that we're playing today was kickstarted. I'm pretty sure they do everything on Kickstarter. But Plaid Hat Games just has as a retail. I picked this up in a Canadian store for like $50, and everything you see today came from that, which is enough to play exactly what we're doing today. It's been pretty good so far. I've played about 10 games. What I'll say from Ashes Ascendancy, oh my god, we have more history to go through. But this is actually the second time that they've done like a solo variant of this game, or not even solo. You can play this with 2 players, a cooperative variant where it's not you versus another player, it's you and another player versus an AI. More history. In 2023, Ashes was like, hey, wait a second. We're mostly entirely a competitive game. Why don't we add like a cooperative aspect to this? So people who play like solo gameplay or cooperative can play and build with their collection, except now instead of fighting each other, they can fight, an AI. And they came up with a system called the Chimeras. And the Chimeras were these bosses that you could buy that you could play against. And they had an AI very similar to what we're playing today. I bought the first box in 2023 where I could fight against a Chimera, and I tried it out and I thought it was okay. I honestly had a hard time with the rules. The rules were not laid out really well. These Ascendancy rules, I think, are so much better. And the systems were okay. They were fine, but it was a bit more like a puzzle. It didn't feel so much like Ashes, at least the sort of tension you have in an Ashes 1v1 game that I remembered because I haven't played Ashes in a while. This is, again, 3 years after that, 4 years after that, they have decided to reboot that system. And instead of fighting against Chimera, for some narrative reason, we're fighting against something called a Dragonborn. And the Dragonborn works like 80% the same way the Chimera system does, but a bunch of the systems just seem to be better. They're just more smooth, more streamlined. I think they're easier to grok. I also think, and I checked online, that if you have some Chimeras, you can play them largely with the new Dragonborn rules. There's a rule insert that just says like, oh, you can do with the new fatigue system. You can do this new system instead. So they play very similarly, but this is meant to be like the best version. And speaking about a game that's so happy to like errata themselves and reboot themselves, even when you buy this box, it comes with a stack of cards that are errata cards that they have like digitally, talked about when it comes to online play and organized play, but they physically come in the box so you can update your game to be the most normal printing. This game is so gung-ho about errata, and I honestly think that's pretty neat and pretty cool. But there's like characters like, identity abilities that just have totally different text boxes from when I first picked up the card. Maybe that's alarming, maybe that's shocking, but at least this game gives you the cards to fix those problems when they do show up, which is kind of cool. Yo, HFT, how's it going? Don't know if this was the version, but my interest got piqued from everyone talking about it. It's pretty cool. You'll see today. It's pretty neat. I have not played the new 1.5 as a PvP game yet. I've only played it as a cooperative game. And again, I just picked this up last week. I played about a dozen games so far, and I've had a great time. And it wasn't hard to get all the scans. There's not a lot of cards, so I thought we'd be able to show it off on an errant Tuesday night. Ashes cards also feel like a damn credit card in your hand. The card quality is insane. Yeah, this is the thing, is I haven't sleeved these yet, and I've played my dozen games without sleeving them. The card quality is really good, and that's why I was thinking like maybe we don't need to sleeve them. Shuffling's a bit easier. Maybe they'll look better on camera. I don't know, but I have played all my games without sleeving any of my Ashes collection, and I haven't felt bad about it because the card quality is quite nice. Hey John, how's it going, Ashes? I think it shut down when Plaid Hat was owned by Asmodee and was bought back when Plaid Hat got their independence again. That sounds correct. And I'm also only like 60% sure about this, but the person who's currently running Ashes, I think his name is Nick Conley. I think he used to be a playtester. And then when like Ashes came back, I think he became like a full-time Plaid Hat Games person. And he was like one of the big forces behind rebooting this game. From what I've seen, it seems like a great job. And it's like such a cool game design experience to look at Ashes 1 and then look at the same card rebooted in Ashes 1.5, where you can see their very obvious learnings from designing a card game, where it's like, we don't want to do things that happen at instant speed when something dies. We've realized that this is undercosted. We've realized that this is overcosted. And just having a second shot at your core set is obviously kind of cool. Ashes were done in a model where as long as people are interested, we'll keep releasing things. Yeah, they've announced a whole bunch of things on their channel, the upcoming like nature dice packs and stuff like that. I don't have a full collection anymore. I dipped out of the game during 1.5, so I don't have, I think wave 4 I don't have, and I don't have any of the Chimera boxes besides the one you need, the Red Rains one, I think it's called. Also, the solo cooperative mode is shockingly great. It almost feels like it was always made to be that way. It's surprising that it was made that way, super smooth. It is super smooth. And it's like they had to make all these mechanics work, which is really funny because like they had to make so one of my favorite games I remember playing with Pat when, again, we were much younger, is that I played a mill archetype. This game had a mill archetype in the core set, and the games were so genuinely fun. In this game, if you ever can't draw a card during your upkeep, you take a damage. So just like removing your opponent's deck is a win condition in multiple different ways, but not in a units way, because they can always summon units, so they can never run out of units technically, but they can run out of cards, which means they start taking damage. The point is, like, that was a really endearing archetype back in the day, and to make it work against a cooperative or against the, you know, the PvP or sorry, PvE thing, you have to make it work. There's so many things you have to make work, and it does seem like they nailed a lot of them, which is great. Feels like a perfect balance of knowing enough of what the enemy is supposed to do to plan, but not so much that it's scripted. It actually feels like playing a person to a surprising degree. We'll get a game time in sometime for sure. Yeah, I look forward to that. My only wish for the Dragonborn is that it came with two different aspects, like all Chimeras did. The ability to play against one aspect or other, or mix and match was great for the playability. Yeah, I forgot about that. You're right. The Red Rains Chimera came with two different aspects that made it feel like two different bosses. I agree. I wish this did have more of that. And I'll be honest, I'm at the point right now where I have such a large collection of the 1/1.5 cards that I have never played before when I picked the packs up for like $4. But I want to try all of those out, but the only Dragonborn I can play against is Scatha Kalani, and Scatha Kalani is the same Scatha Kalani largely every time you play her. I totally would be way more interested, seemingly at this point, in more Dragonborns and more Dragonborn aspect variety than actually more characters, but it seems like they're printing more characters, so I'll see how that lines up. I do also want to say from my experience so far, and I'm only 95% sure I have the rules correct, which I'm now going to confidently teach to you, this game is pretty easy. So far on normal difficulty, it's been a cakewalk. I've played the majority of my games, you know, like second game of the deck on the harder difficulty. I think it's called heroic or expert, where you just add +1 threat. That haven't lost a game yet, and I'm not an expert at this game. I'm also playing the pre-constructed decks. You can continue to increase the difficulty, and like this is the silliest thing to say on stream before I get bodied in front of an audience. So far this game has been really easy, and I'm not saying that as a like he's good, because I don't know what I'm doing, but like maybe I'm doing a rule wrong, but it just has felt like I do need to increase the difficulty just about immediately. For some people, that's a really good thing. I guess historically I am a min-max card gamer, so you know that might come into conversation. But yeah, it's been easy. Don't know for sure yet, but I probably will be. The Chimera could be mixed. I think a big design change was getting rid of pretty much any way to get spent dice back, which I think is important. Ashes 1.0 was very, I remove your dice, I get my dice back. Oh, I remember hearing about that. It's been a while since I looked at like, you know, they released design documents talking about like why they are changing 1 to 1.5. And yeah, that does seem like a thing they need to fix. I remember for Ashes Reborn Chimera PvE, only one PvP card was simply, you can't play this in PvE. Oh, I didn't know this. So far, what have I seen? You can do whatever you want. And the deck building in this game is also really easy. I do want to say we are a Marvel Champions channel. These products do come the same way that the Marvel Champion stuff does, where anything you buy is a pre-constructed deck. So you can disassemble this deck and build your own version of the deck. And mind you, these are monocolored decks because they want to teach you these dice, they're new. Issa does not have to be just an Artificer deck. She probably wants to play Artificer cards or Artificer dice because her ability cares about Artifice dice, but you can make her like a Compassion or a Sympathy dice player or a Ceremonial dice deck or some mixture thereof. And these decks are relatively straightforward. There's only 10 different cards, technically 10 plus or minus because of the summons, and there's just 3 copies of each. That is the base rules. Every deck can only have 3 of the same copy of card, and every deck has to be exactly 30 cards. You also see that there's certain cards that are unique to that character. Those are their unique cards. You can only have 3 unique cards from your character in your deck, and characters that have a bigger card pool, not unlike these two that just have these cards we're going to see today, they have actually multiple copies of unique cards, and you have to pick which combination of 3 of those you want to put in your deck, if at all. But the deck building rules are really simple. It's just 30 cards, only 3 ofs, and it only can have 3 unique cards for your character. You can pick whatever dice, you can play whatever cards you want. Otherwise, really straightforward. The Ashes Ascendancy box, full 2 decks. I played like 9 years ago as a PvP game and thought it was a bit clunky but fun. Had literally no idea they straight up rebooted it. What's the core set these days? I honestly don't know. This box is called Ascendancy. This is enough for you to play PvP because it comes with 2 decks and comes with all the tokens. It also comes with enough for you to play PvE, let alone 2-player PvE. This is probably the best starting point. If not, Ashes Reborn is the modern core box. I think that comes with like 5 or 6 characters, but it's entirely just PvP and it comes in with all the tokens. But if you want to be able to play this as like a solo game, this is the best entry point because you get 2 decks and then you can buy, you know, a la carte your own decks from there. Hey, Bevix, how's it going? I think it's not that hard, but it's still satisfying and you have to make good decisions. You do have to make good decisions. I've appreciated that. The more I'm playing this, the more positions matter. And okay, we're going to get into the teach in 2 minutes, I promise. The one thing that is so wacky about this PvE versus PvP is that PvE focuses on a mechanic that does not exist in PvP. And I'm saying that like tone flag positive. In PvE, when you play a unit to your battlefield, the next unit you play has to go to the right of the previous unit. When you play the next unit, it has to go to the right of the next unit, and so on and so forth. When you play units, they have to go left to right, like Latin reading. And the villain here, our Dragonborn, has cards that will target your leftmost unit or your rightmost unit, or do damage to your leftmost unit or to rightmost unit. That is not something that exists from my understanding in PvP. PvP has no restrictions on where you can place units, but equally has no cards that target units with positionality in relation to other units. PvE is all about that. And so it actually becomes a weird puzzle where you're like, okay, I know she does generally chips of 1 damage to my leftmost unit, so I'm going to make sure my leftmost unit is tanky, then I'll put a weak unit, then I'll put a tanky unit. And that is something that's unique to PvE that does not exist in PvP. Kind of funny, actually a really interesting puzzle, and it's one of the big things you can and should play around when you're playing against Scatha. I don't know if the other chimeras really leaned into it as much. I think they did, but all their cards will say like, when it attacks, attack the leftmost unit, and so like that's a puzzle on its own. Found the Dragonborn much easier than most of the chimera. I don't remember struggling against the one Chimera I played, but I do also think I played wrong. I'm pretty convinced I played wrong. I don't think the original Chimera rulebook was laid out really well. The Dragonborn rulebook laid out so much better. Is this the start of a 4th Andre channel? Hey, Katarian, I don't think so. This is something I just wanted to show off on a Tuesday night, but I can't keep making channels. It doesn't make any sense. Deck building in Ashes is very broad and do whatever you want. I love the idea that I've heard that there's decks where like your hero has an ability that requires a certain die, but your ability can only be done once a turn. So you just play one of that die and then the other 9 die are something entirely unrelated. I think that's really, really cool. Yeah. Thanks. So I guess the bigger boxes have both, and the small boxes, the ones available for 15CAD, are just player decks. That's exactly it. The $15 decks are generally just player decks. They're the ones that come in like a clamshell, I think. The ones that come in a bigger box, which I just threw out my other box, those have PvP. Sorry, those have generally a chimera and some player cards. But the one you want is the core box and Ascendancy. So the bigger the box gets, generally that's the answer, right? I would say there's nothing that can mess you around up in Ashes PvE that when the Chimera Dragonborn makes a roll in defense for one of the aspects that can be catastrophic. Correct. And from my experience, I don't attack a lot of aspects because the aspects attack me and I can counter. That's something that's been both like a weird thing to play around, but it feels like in this game, I'm not incentivized to attack the aspects, and you'll understand why once we go through the rules. I'm much more likely for them to attack me because then I can choose to block, assuming that there's no unit guard or like, you know, are in the right position, because then you're guaranteed to knock the thing out. Because in this game, you can technically attack a unit, and then the Dragonborn or Phoenixborn can block that unit, and it's really bad when they do that because you get to do face damage, but you don't get to do the thing that you want to do. Okay. So, welcome to the timestamp where it says we teach you the game. And for this, I think we're actually genuinely going to do a rolling teach. I think a rolling teach is relatively easy. Notably, we have Scatha Kalani, who is our Dragonborn. I'm going to say the villain every once in a while. Just welcome to Marvel Champions channel. And she has 30 health. That's on one side of the screen. When that hits 0, we win. That's simple, super easy. We are either Issa or Arren. I can change the name there, no stress. And we will either have 18 health or a big jump down, 15 health. When one of those numbers hits 0, we also lose the game. It's a card battler. That's how this one works. The one question that you have to answer, chat, is which character do you want to play? So hold on, let's see if this works. Uh-oh, my keyboard turned off because I was not using it for too long. How deep is the card pool with just Ascendancy compared to System Gateway or Marvel Champions? Tiny. If you just buy Ascendancy, these are all the cards you get. So you basically have one mono deck of 10 cards, one mono deck of 10 cards, just Scatha's cards. I would say it's enough to play, but I think deck building is possible. But it's hard to build 2 constructed decks out of this because you're probably going to take the good decks from this cards and merge it with some of the good cards in this deck, excuse me, and then you're left with leftovers. So not great. If you want to jump into deck building, get the Ashes Reborn core set where you have a lot of cards, and then you also have access to every single aspect from the core box, which is like 5 different dice colors. Okay, so one of the characters we have is Issa. Or Issa, I'm not sure how to say this. Issa Brightmore is kind of like an artificer. That's the thing. She builds mechs and she makes them powerful. I think that's quite fun. Arren on the other side is some sort of javelier, has wings, flies, does ping damage, and protects himself. They're both pretty cool. They both show off the new dice. There's no wrong answers, and whatever one you pick, the other one we're going to play the second game. So just tell me who you want to see first while I drink my coffee and catch my breath. I think they do need to reprint the Ashes Reborn core box. Oh, I didn't know it was out of print. Apologies if it is. I had no idea. I didn't buy one because I had the 1.5 thing. Also, for sure. The ones with status effects can be bad if you don't attack. Yeah, those you have to get rid of. But they do attack. The status ones in the Dragonborn deck will attack you. A little bit smaller than something like Gateway. The precons are good, but you'll want to get more brute decks. Issa? Okay, cool. Let's do Issa. All right, so we're going to put Arren aside. And we're going to put these 10 dice aside. And we're going to learn the game. So, this is Issa Brightmore. I'm going to say the name 6 different ways. And this is our Phoenixborn. This is like your identity. This is like your hero. Super important. It comes with our base stats, which are somewhat important. And then it comes with a basic box that we can use once per turn, largely. So firstly, we have 18 health. That's the number in the middle. Fantastic. On the left is battlefield 6. That's how many units we can have in the battlefield. So when it comes to something like Marvel Champions, we can have 3 allies. Think about this, the number of allies you can have in play. This game does not have a rule like Marvel Champions or Netrunner, where if you're over MU or over your ally limit, you can just discard any ally to get back to your ally limit. So say that I had, 6 units and I played a 7th unit, the 7th unit just gets discarded. Like I can't choose to destroy a unit when I play my over unit. So just watch out. It shouldn't be a problem when it comes to PvP. I haven't seen it be an issue. The next number is spell board, and that's how many active spells we can have on the table. You're going to have a hand, and then you're going to have spells on the table. You can activate those spells on the table and they will give you an effect. So the more spells you have, the more options you have to some extent. We also have this ability, and you're going to get used to this sort of like nomenclature, the symbology, because this symbology is used heavily in the game, and it just basically tells you what it costs to fire this ability. So one symbol that we're going to learn a fair bit, you see that diamond after the word inspiration, that kind of empty diamond, that means it takes a side action. On your turn, you get a full action, a main action, I think it's called, and a side action. And so every turn you can take one main, you have to take a main, and you can choose to take a side action. Your side action can go before or after your main, that doesn't matter. But basically these are like fast actions, and you're always allowed to do one fast action on your turn, before or after your main action. So that's the side action ability. That's the symbol. That next symbol with the triangle with the kind of circle next to it, that's called exhaustion. And so this is an exhaustion token. That means to do this effect, you have to exhaust the card. Why does that matter? Well, an exhausted card can't exhaust itself again. So it's basically the way to track once per turn things. There are technically cards in the game that will remove exhaustion tokens off of the card, so you could do it again. I don't think we have any of those. We do actually. We do have a couple, but they're mostly for units. But that just basically says once per turn. The next symbol shows you a die symbol. And so as we mentioned, these die have 3 sides. 1 out of 3 times, you get a basic die. That's the lowest level. 2 out of 3 times, or sorry, 1 out of 2 times. So on 3 of the sides, you get the class symbol. This is a gear. And then 1 of 6 times, if you're really lucky, you get the power symbol. So this means to do this action, it takes a side action. We have to exhaust Issa, and we have to spend at least a class side. And why I mean at least is that you can use a power to be a class or a basic. You can use a class to be a class or a basic. A basic can only be a basic. When you use your die, you're generally going to have a die pool, and then you exhaust the die pool. So if I spend this die, I just put it on the other side, and that die is spent for this turn. So that's how cards are generally templated. It'll say that this is either a basic action or a side action. It'll tell you whether you have to exhaust the card or not. Usually you do. And then it'll tell you how many die you have to exhaust to do that effect. Her effect says draw 2 cards and then place an artifice die, which are all the dice we have, from your exhausted pool on a card you control. So we can just put it on top of something. What does that do? We'll find out together. All the Ashes stuff are available as print on demand. Yeah, I think. I'm not 100% sure. I think they do have print on demand. I don't know how it works. I don't know if you can POD like an individual deck, but I'm pretty sure they have a weird distribution model that you don't actually have to just like get straight boxes. Ashes Reborn core box is like $100 on eBay. Oh, that's aftermarket shit, huh? That sucks. Everything is on PLD, but some retail boxes are out of print. Okay, so you can just like a la carte stuff you want. I don't know much about that model. I don't know if that model is going to be affordable outside of the States. Usually it's not, but we'll see. Okay, next thing about Ashes, and this is a really unique part about Ashes, is that when your turn starts in either a PvE or a PvP game, you can pick your opening hand. This is called a first 5. And I don't know how it works. I think you find out what your opponents, like who they're playing first, I'm guessing. But you're allowed to search through your deck and make your opening hand. You don't mulligan in this game. You literally choose your opening hand. Now, there are some rules. Firstly, I don't think you can pick one of your unique hero cards. So one of the 3 ofs you can put in your deck, that's one of your most powerful synergistic cards. I don't think you can start with that in your hand. Or if you can, I don't think you can start with more than 1 in your hand. I just think you can't start with any of them in your hand. The only other rule is every card you have to pick in your hand has to be unique. So while these two cards kind of look visually similar, I'll tell you they are different cards. This is called Summon Thunderhulk. This is called Summon Spark Drone. A lot of cards that summon cards just look like books, but every other card you can pick in your hand is your opening hand. You choose it. That's really cool. And that's actually a big part of your game plan. And you can kind of be reactive based off of your opponent and what you think they're going to do, let alone the Dragonborn. A big part of this too is that we know what these cards cost to play, and we know we're going to have 10 dice. So it's up to us to make this sort of puzzle and solve this puzzle and play these cards in the right order, understanding we have limited resources. So like having cards that cost 14 dice in our opening hand, which might be the thing you want to seems like it's a good thing, it's not a good thing to do. It's a really, really cool part of this game. The next thing we have is, well, we have this Artifice Magic card. I'll explain this in a second. We also have our, these are Conjurations. So there's cards, they're mostly these summon cards like Summon Thunderhulk and Summon Spark Drone. These are cards we'll put on the table, and then later we can activate them and it will summon these. These are called Conjurations, and they're functionally units. They're no different than any other allies we can play, but these cards don't come in our deck, and when they are defeated, they don't return to our discard pile. They always just go to the side to our Conjuration pile, our Conjuration zone. And that just means that this is the most amount of these units we can summon at the same time. We're literally limited. It tells you you only get 2 Thunderhulks, and that's it. They're basically units we can pull over and over again throughout the game. As much as the game does have allies that are in our deck, and when they're defeated, they go to our discard pile, these are cards that kind of come back over and over again. It's a really unique part of Ashes where like fatigue works in a slightly different way. Otherwise, our next 25 cards, we'll just shuffle this up. Rules in first 5. Choose your first 5 by taking 5 cards of your choice from your deck to form your starting hand. These cards must be all be different cards and cannot include more than one Phoenixborn unique. Okay, so you can have your Phoenixborn unique, just one of them. Since with expansion, some Phoenixborn had alternate signature cards. Yeah, there is all extra signature cards for most Phoenixborn. You can only have 3 signature cards in your deck. It doesn't matter if they're the same title or different. There can only be 3. So I wasn't expecting that. Almost bought Ascendancy box like weekend. Hey, Sideshow, how's it going? I did also buy it last weekend, and I played a fair bit of it. I bought it this last week. This shouldn't be shuffled in. This is the one annoying thing about the stream. There's this card that says phases of play, and on the back it tells you the phases of play specifically for PvE. This card does not exist on the internet. I got scans for every card you're going to see today. Besides this card, it does not exist. So this would be one of the most useful cards to show on the screen, and I literally can't do it. So it's okay, but I am very much annoyed about that. Okay, normally when I play Marvel Champions, we put our hero on this side, and I'm actually going to get a deck for this a thing. Okay, give me 1 second. So this is our opening hand. I'll explain all of this in a second. We're just gonna keep our summons over here. We'll grab them when we need them. And this is our deck holder for now. I guess we'll have an orange one. That looks terrible. It's fine. Okay, this is our dice pool. I haven't figured out how we're gonna do this on camera. I guess this is our dice pool. So we're gonna review the round timing chart here. So phases of play. First thing we do, technically the first thing you do is that there is, we have to set up the Dragonborn. Actually, technically we have to do that. So these are our first 5. We'll explain them in a second. This is our hero. I haven't played with such white cards, so apologies if there's a fair bit of glare and these are a bit too bright on camera. That's not something we've had to deal with yet on the stream. But how you set up the Dragonborn is also very, very similar, or very, very simple. So firstly, this is our Dragonborn. Her name is Scatha Kalani. She's the only Dragonborn that exists in the game so far, and she has 30 health. She says threat 4 at the bottom. That's an important number. And you can, to increase the difficulty, just choose to give her a higher threat. And there are little tokens to represent that, so you don't forget. When we reduce her health to 0, we win. And she has this ability that says poach. At the start of the turn, do something, something, something. That will happen whenever she gets a status token when basically her turn starts. She will remove a status token to do that text. So it won't matter now because she doesn't have status tokens. The next thing you do is you grab a behavior card. I don't know if this behavior card belongs to Scatha or all Dragonborns have the same behavior card. Technically, it looks like it belongs to her because she's on the back, but we just put that here in the behavior slot. You don't actually technically need this board. Then there's a stack of cards called ready spells. You build a pile of them in order with ready spell 1 on top. This tells you what to do whenever it says to fire her spell. And at the end of the turn, or at the end of the round, or more accurately, the start of next round, you do the progress ability, and then you reveal Ready Spell 2, which just accelerates and makes the game scarier. At the end of that round, you do the progress ability, and you go to Ready Spell 3, and Ready Spell 3 will never progress. It will do the progress ability, but there's basically, it doesn't get worse than this. So these are things we can see coming, because we know at the end of the round, or the start of next round more accurately, we have to do the text on the progress box. That is something we should play around. Now, the last thing you have to do is, firstly, there's this card here called Stamina. It has stamina 2 and stamina 3 on the same side. You just have to spin the card around. But if you're playing one player, you take the stamina 2 card and you put it at the bottom of the draw pile. If you're two players and you see the symbols there, it starts on stamina 3. What this is basically whenever this card is revealed, and that is revealed when you have to draw cards and the deck is empty, you do the text on this. And this basically allows you to play a fatigue deck, because if she runs out of cards too many times, bad things happen. And that fatigue is a strategy you can pursue in this game. Generally for solo play, this hasn't mattered unless you're particularly playing a deck that makes the opponent draw a lot and you are playing a fatigue deck, which we are not today. When I played on a higher difficulty, I've hit stamina 2, but I've never fired it further than that. Hey, Ren, this game is quite alive. This box came out just a couple months ago. They're celebrating 11 years of Ashes, and there's still products coming out, which is pretty sick. Yeah, Dragonborns have different rules than Chimera, but there is rules that you can take the Dragonborn rules and play them with Chimeras largely. I read online, and specifically they think the stamina thing, which was called fatigue, if I'm not mistaken, for Chimeras, they believe the stamina version is just a better version. And they say, please use this version when you're playing your Chimeras if you want to. But Chimeras play slightly different from this. Unfortunately, I haven't played against a Chimera in like a couple of years, so I couldn't tell you the differences like right off the top. But yeah, I'm rooting for Scatha. She's looking kind of, I mean, I'm looking kind of cute. Cool. We put that on top. This is her deck. Actually, we're not done yet. So this is her deck of cards. This is unique to Scatha. This has nothing to do where you pick the aspect. This is not that many different cards. This feels like only 5 different cards and maybe 3 copies of each, maybe a bit more. It's not a very big deck. We did not sleeve this, whatever. But on the back, you'll see there's a little symbol. This is a 1 blood or 1 gem or something like that. And there's some that are 2. All we have to do at the beginning is we have to fill up cards left to right equal to her threat. Her threat is 4, so we're going to deliver ourselves 4 cards. And basically every round, there are 4 cards on the table that we will have to deal with. Now, notably, you have to put a 1, a 2, a 1, a 2, a 1, a 2, on and on forever until you fill up the amount of cards that threat requires from you. So for us, we do 1, 1, 2. This needs to be a 2, and this needs to be a 2. And that's it. So we have 1, 2, 1, 2. And then we'll go ahead and we'll shuffle these back. Dragonborn rules are similar, but smoother than Chimera in general. That's from my memory as well. They seem a lot more straightforward than the Chimera rules. Because Chimeras like charged their ultimate and the ultimate fired and then the spell advanced. It was like a fair bit more involved. All right, that's the Dragonborn. That's us. We are now technically ready to play as long as I didn't forget anything. So technically you go through this sheet, and the first thing you do, the first phase of play when you're playing PvE, is you have to do the dragon phase. That's when the Chimera does clean up and set up and stuff like that. But on the first round of the game, you do skip it and you go straight to prepare phase. The prepare phase is done. Mind you, if you play 2 players, I'm not going to be talking about the 2-player rules. They're very similar. You just do them at the same time largely. I don't have this card to show you on the stream, apologies. But we basically have to roll dice, and then we can discard cards and draw cards. Now, roll dice is simple. We take all 10 of our dice and we roll them. I realize I don't have like a tray to roll these in, so I don't know if this is going to sound awful in the microphone. And then we want to put these next to our sheet on the left side where our active dice go. And notice we rolled bad. So again, it's basic, power, and class, and we rolled absolutely 0 power die. That would be the one with the B. That rolls 1 in every 3 rolls. So on average, we should have like at least 2 power dice. We've rolled none. We've rolled entirely class die and 2 basic die. Now, again, this game has a fair bit of variance. It's a card game, let alone a die card game, but we do have a lot of ways to manipulate these dice at instant speed to our will, so it's not going to lose us the game on the spot. But it is a bit of the texture of the game, that's for sure. But yeah, just keep that in mind. We have no way to play anything right now that requires us to spend a power die because we don't have power die. At this point too, now you can discard any cards you have in your hand and then draw back up to your hand size. So your hand size is always 5. This is kind of exactly like Marvel Champions. You always get a new hand of 5. Obviously here we have no reason to discard and draw because we literally picked these 5 cards. Notably, if you ever have to draw cards from your deck at this point in the game during the upkeep and you can't, for every card that you fail to draw, you have to take a damage. So cards in your deck are a resource. It's not like we shuffle our discard pile and redraw. If we fail to draw, we fail to draw and take damage. So you have to be a bit mindful. Lastly, this points at us. I think this happens now, but this means that we are the first player. And the way this is going to go is we have now entered the main part of the game, the player turn phase, in which we are now going to be trading turns. Because we are the first player, we go first, then the Dragonborn, then us, then the Dragonborn, and on forever until 2 players consecutively pass. Again, on our turn, we have to take a main action and we can choose to take a side action. The side action can go before or after the main action. That doesn't matter, but you always have to take at least a main action. You can choose to or to not take a side action. We have a whole bunch of main actions. Mostly it's play cards and do attacks, but one of the main actions you always have access to is pass. You can straight up just pass as your main action, and that's technically fine. Now then the Dragonborn will go, and she will be doing her thing. Technically, we have to figure out what her behavior is, and each Dragonborn probably has slightly different behavior. She's relatively straightforward. At some point, she will also start to pass. And if we pass, and she immediately passes, 2 people have consecutively passed, and that's when we get to the end of the round. That's when we will ready our cards, upkeep, she does her thing, we redraw our hand. So we're going to be trading actions for a fair bit until truly the end of the round. I have gone to no power too often. This is not common. We generally rolled a bit better than this, but I don't think it's going to be a disaster. It is unlikely you missed them all. Yeah, it's not very likely we've missed all of them. Okay, just give me 1 second, because I realize we're going to need a bit more table space. I'm just going to zoom out the camera 1 second. That's probably good enough. It's easier to move the table than it is to move a camera. That's a little trick. Yeah, we're going to need 3 rows and we barely have. Yeah, this should be good enough. This is perfect. Okay. So we go first. So what can we do with our actions? Our first action we can always do is we can attack. Attacking, though, requires us to announce a certain amount of units and target either an aspect, which is one of these cards that will flip over, or we can go straight to the face and attack Scatha. Now, that's not something we can do because we don't have units. Notably, your Phoenixborn cannot attack, so we're not going to attack. The next thing we can do is play cards, and that is what we're going to be doing here. Now, explaining this game and playing it well at the same time is going to be a bit rough, and I'm also not an expert in this game. I've only played it this Ascendancy like 9 to 10 times, so we might not play the best lines, but I'll describe what we can do, and I'll just make plays that make sense. So firstly, we talked about this. Cards have costs. This is Summon Thunderhulk. This is a ready spell, and it's a spell board. So there's 2 kinds of cards, technically 3 kinds of cards in this game. There are spells, there are units, and then there's technically alterations, which are not super common. I think our deck only has 1. Those are things you attach to things. Spells are the easiest. When you play a spell, 1 of 2 things happens. Either it just does its thing and it discards itself. Those will largely be called action spells. They just take an action. Or there'll be ready spells that go into our spell board. So for instance, I want to play Summon Thunderhulk, which is our spell book that will allow us to, as the title says, summon Thunderhulks. Now, the cost to play this card is the kind of the shape underneath the word Hulk in the top right corner. And that symbol that kind of looks like a compass rose, that is the other very important symbol. That is the symbol for what a main action costs. A main action is the thing that you'd have to do on your turn. So all it costs us to play this card is a main action. And when we play this card as a main action, it costs us no die. We just put it here in our spell board. Again, as we said, our hero has 4 spellboard slots, so we can only put 4 cards in our spellboards. Now, this game has it really easy. These precons are made that I think we only have access to 4 spellboard cards, so that's never going to be a tension we have to worry about. But in theory, for deck building, you can't put too many spell cards in your deck because you'll run into issues, but that's that, okay? Now, this doesn't do anything. This is just our action for the turn. We can still do a side action, but now later on, you'll notice we can do the action text on the bottom of this card when it's part of our spell board. On the next turn, we can spend an action. We can exhaust this. We know that symbol. We can spend a power die, a class die, and we can spend a basic die, and then it says place a Thunderhulk conjuration onto your battlefield. So we search our conjurations and we go get a Thunderhulk and we just slap it onto the table. That's what this does. It spawns Thunderhulks. And because it exhausts it, we can only do this once per turn because then this thing is exhausted. So that's something we can do later. But these sort of units can come back over and over, but they're a bit slow. They take a couple pieces, like they take a couple moving pieces, and that's how they work. Now, you'll notice that we do have honest units. I'll just show you this unit. This is the Systems Drafter. She is not a conjuration. She is literally an ally, which means we could pay her cost as our main action this turn, which would be spend a main action and spend just a class die, and then she just goes into play. Notice when she dies, she's dead. She goes to her discard pile. She's not coming back. But if we lose a Thunderhulk we've summoned, we can just summon another one next turn, and that's a really interesting part about this game. What a surprise, Crash Base on Tuesday and a new game. Nelson, welcome to our Tuesday Ashes Ascendancy stream. Andre really misses streaming every day. We're getting there. I think we're streaming today. We're streaming tomorrow. We're streaming Thursday. Friday, we'll take it off. Also important to think of when deciding your first 5. Yeah, it is. And Pat is saying one of the deck building costs is that building a deck with multiple dice type means you won't always roll your correct power dice. Yep. We're the most forgiving deck because we're monocolor. We just roll our die and then that's what we get. Okay, here we can take a side action. And I actually will take a side action. I'm going to play this card, and it's very similarly, it is a spellboard card. So we're going to play it as another spellboard slot. Notice the cost to play this card is just the side action. That's the, the diamond kind of symbol. So we just put this in our spellboard. Later on a following turn, we can take a side action and exhaust this, which is really low cost. It costs us no dice. In fact, we've spent no dice so far this turn or this round. We can move an artifice die from a card you control onto another card you control. Now, what do artifice dies do on cards? Literally nothing, but some of our cards are going to be caring about that text. So when that shows up, we'll interact with that. But that's all we've done. We take a main action and we took a side action. And once we're done, we have to pass. And it's now the Dragonborn's turn. So what does the Dragonborn do on their turn? First thing, they go through all their cards and they check if they have any cards that have these like green boxes that say spend status tokens to do things. Scatha technically here would remove a status token to ping the leftmost unit we have for 1 damage, or technically hit us in the face if there's no leftmost unit. She doesn't have a status counter, so she doesn't do that. Then you go left to right through all her cards on the table, and if any of them have these green boxes with status counters, they will do their effect. That doesn't happen, so we're good to go. All we have to do now is figure out what her behavior is, and we just look at her behavior card. So notice that's what it said. At the start of the Dragonborn's turn, resolve the Dragonborn status ability and then its aspect status abilities from left to right. Then resolve one of the following turns. Notably, these cards that she spawns, it's a confusing word. They're called aspects. They're technically functionally units. They have like health and they have attack and that's it. But they're functionally units. They just call them aspects. Notably, the language from this game, anything that's an aspect is technically a unit. So if I have a card that says deal 4 damage to a unit, I can hit an aspect. If I have a card that says deal 3 damage or, interact with a Phoenixborn, technically a Dragonborn is a Phoenixborn. So there's like very simple layer of translation, but functionally all the cards that only existed in a world of PvP still work in a PvE world. They just translate the language. Anyways, so if there are any face down aspects, which there are, we basically have to roll a dragon die and resolve on corresponding behavior. These are the dragon die. They have the exact same layout as our dice do, where 2 out of the 6 sides are the basic side, 3 of the 6 sides are the class side, and 1 of the 6 side is the sort of dragon face. Looks a bit like a horse to me. That is the power side. And all we do here is roll the die and see what happens. All right, we roll the average case, which is the class die. Notably, whenever you roll something that's not basic, it slots into one of these slots here. And when all 5 of these slots are filled with non and basic die, she gets a status counter and then they unlock and they become basic die. So it's like the soft timer. The more you roll die, the sooner something bad will happen. Now it says we have to activate the Dragonborn's ready spell, and then that's her side action. And then her main action is to reveal. So our side action she does first is activate the Dragonborn's ready spell. So we have to look at ready spell. And her ready spell is on 1, and her activated ability says the target opposing player, that's us, must lower one non-basic die in their active pool 1 level. So we don't make any choices here. We're just going to take one of our class dies and make it a basic. If we had a power die, we could choose to demote that. We probably wouldn't, but that's what her ready spell does when it's on ready spell 1. That will change next turn. After that, we go back to the behavior and we have to reveal. When you reveal, you just go to the leftmost aspect and you flip it over. That's it. Aegis Feathers. This is a good one to get early. This is our first aspect card we've seen. So this is what they look like. Aegis Feathers has 1 attack, 1 life, blood 1. These are numbers that are relatively straightforward. You're going to intuit how this works. But basically, when we attack this or it attacks us, it will do 1 damage to whatever hits. Life 1 means if this takes 1 damage, it dies. And notably, aspect cards have this trait called blood. Blood is whenever this thing gets defeated, Scatha, the Dragonborn, just takes 1 damage. So anytime we defeat the aspect cards, she also takes damage. All the aspect cards in this box do at least 1 blood. So just defeating the aspect cards and managing the table will eventually defeat Scatha, as much as you can attack Scatha directly. Now, this card also has 2 important things on it. Firstly, it has text. This is Aegis Feathers. When this unit is destroyed, remove an exhaustion token from the leftmost aspect on this battlefield. So this is a card that when it's destroyed will basically awaken something else and let it attack twice. Because, and we haven't talked about this, whenever something attacks, it gets an exhaustion token, which means it can attack again this turn. But Aegis Feathers basically says, nah, you're going again twice. And so this is a pretty mean thing. We kind of are incentivized to destroy this thing early because it is bad. It will wake something up. Secondly, in the bottom right corner, this thing has a shield, and shields are interesting because it means that this unit will never attack us, but this unit will be used aggressively to block, either for Scatha or block other units. So that's why this card is so good, is because it's a defensive card, but also when it dies, it will wake up another unit. So it's kind of defensive and offensive, but this card technically will not threaten us because it will never attack us on its own. New to the channel, game, new game. Yeah, Sonic, this is a game that's been around for a long time, as much as this is a relatively new expansion. I played a whole bunch this weekend and thought we might as well show it off on stream because it's pretty fun. Well, it'd be nice to stream a PvP session with Patrick. Yeah, that'd be nice. It takes me a fair bit of work to get all the cards together, but I think I'd like to do that. Pat's played a fair bit more than I have. He actually has like played competitively and stuff like that, but it's fun to play with Pat for sure. Better than Netrunner? Why does this question come up? Every card game is different than every card game. This is a PvE game, so it's already different than Netrunner, but Netrunner's a very special game. That's it. That's all she does. That's her behavior. And now it's back to us. And on our turn, we have the same idea. We have to take a basic action and then we can choose to take a side action. Again, we take pass as their basic action. We're obviously not going to, but notably, if you ever take pass as your basic action while they're unrevealed aspects, for each, I think, unrevealed aspect, you have to increase one of her die. So it really punishes you for passing early, as much as you could pass to get more information. More importantly, we want to be able to build our board state here because more scary things are going to flip over. Just as a very high level, our goal is to defeat every aspect on the table. My goal is not to hit her for 30 damage. Our goal is to play table control. And a very big part about this game is just making sure that your units can basically double trade. We don't want to get a unit that just dies. We want to do something better than that. So with that being said, I think we're just going to take our turn. So again, we have a basic action, a main action, and we have a side action. And our main action, let's just summon a Thunderhulk. Again, this is our big unit and we can summon it over and over again. So why not? So we're going to do this as our main action and we're going to choose to maybe do a side action after. So our main action here is we're going to do the summon Thunderhulk. And so we're going to do the cost on the bottom because this is already part of our spell board. So we're going to spend a main action. We're going to exhaust it. So we put this blue thing on it. So we can't use it again this turn. We're going to pay one, what's it called? A class and one basic. And then we're just going to place a Thunderhulk Conjuration onto our battlefield. So this is onto our battlefield. Now the Thunderhulks are very good units. From my understanding, a 3 attack, 3 life unit for 2 dice is a deal. It's a deal and a half. That's a very, very good amount of dice to what you get from it. However, Summon Thunderhulk has this downside. It's dormant. This unit cannot attack unless it's charged. This unit is dormant. It doesn't do anything. Now you might be wondering, what does charged mean? Charged just means that this unit gets a dice on it somehow. We have to specifically, I think, put an artifice die on it. So until we can find out how to get an artifice die onto the Thunderhulk, we can't actually activate it at all. It can't attack. That being said, I think it can still guard. That means it will actually like trade damage, but it can't aggressively attack on its own. It also has Overkill, and Overkill is a thing that's showed up before, as much as Dormant, I believe, is new to the set. Overkill says after this unit destroys a unit an opponent controls while it's attacking, not guarding, but attacking, you deal 1 damage to the opponent's target Phoenixborn. And mind you, Dragonborn always gets substituted for Phoenixborn if you want it to be. So this thing technically can attack for 4 damage, kind of, or do 3 damage, defeat something, do 1 damage, and that's quite nice. However, we have to charge it. So why don't we do our side action? So Issa has the side action. It's called Inspiration. So again, that small diamond is a side action. We're going to do side action. We're going to exhaust her. We're going to spend a class die. And we're going to draw 2 cards. Maybe we should have done this first to get more options, but we're going to draw 2 cards. We drew 2 cards. I'll tell you the text in a second. And then it says, place an artifice die from your exhausted pool onto a card you control. So we'll just take this and put it on the Thunderhulk. And now the Thunderhulk is charged. And that is our turn. Again, I'll read all these cards we have in our hand in a second once they matter. We're just going to show you how the game works on a very high level, right? I'm a noob, but it's hard to imagine a PvP game more fun than ANR. Netrunner is a very special game. Makes sense that Patrick is an Ashes fan. Hey, Matt, what does that mean? A lot of Netrunner veterans playing Ashes. Dura, how's it going? Yes, I do think I know a lot of players that have an overlap, but like generally people who like interesting card games like interesting card games. Watching your channel is really bad for my wallet. It doesn't have to be like that. You can try this game out on TTS. There's ways to do this. I feel bad, but maybe that's good if you find something you like. If you pass with a face down aspect, it only raises 1 dice, no matter how many face down aspects they are. Thank you, Corey. I didn't know that. I've never done that rule. I know that's a real rule. I'm not going to pass, but yeah, you're punished for passing when there's aspect cards. That's our turn. We've done a main, we've done a side, we'll pass it over. And now this turn gets a bit scarier because notably we know this is a 1 blood card, I think it's what it's called, and this is a 2 card. So this is going to be a more interesting card. Now, again, for the behavior, we're going to be pretty familiar with this. We're not going to be showing this every turn. Firstly, if there's any of these status abilities, Scatha would do her status ability, and then any of these cards from left to right would do their status abilities. That will basically show up whenever there's a green token on something. Clearly, there's none. Then, as long as there's face down aspect cards, which there are 3, we just roll a die and see what happens. And we won't re-roll this die. We'll only roll the basic die that are not locked in. Cool. Same thing as before. So we have to activate the Dragonborn's ready spell and then reveal. So the ready spell is still ready spell 1. And ready spell 1 just says we have to lower a die in our die pool. So we're going to just go ahead and lose a class and make another basic. And then we have to reveal. So we'll just flip the leftmost card. Those damn petals. This is a bird hunter. Really funny. I like had a rules question about this card and I texted Pat. I'm like, yo, why does this card have this text on it? And then like 3 minutes later, I text him, okay, I figured it out. All right, so this is what a more aggressive card looks like. This is again an aspect. It attacks for 3, it has 3 health, and it has blood too, which means when we defeat it, it will do 2 damage to Scatha. It also has overkill. This is after this unit destroys a unit an opponent controls by attacking, deal 1 damage to the opponent's target Phoenixborn. You fledgling shall not hinder me. Notably, that's the exact same text on their Thunder Hulk, who also has overkill 1, and I think this game actually does have overkill 2 and maybe overkill 3, so that's fun. Now, very importantly, this card has that crest over the box, and it's the sort of like centered crest, and that means that's the AI of this card. When this card will attack, and mind you, at some point in the behavior, this card will be forced to attack us, it will attack us, the Phoenixborn. You'll see some symbols on the left, you'll see some symbols in the center, like this one, and some symbols on the right, and that just tells you which unit or which Phoenixborn they'll attack, or which unit or us they'll attack. So this says whenever this card will attack, it'll do 3 damage to us, and I'll put an exhaustion token on it. We can choose to block it if we want to, as much as it has scary text, but this will always attack straight to the face. If we had a card with a left icon, it would attack our leftmost unit. If there's a card with a right icon, it will attack our rightmost unit. And units are harder to guard for. Whenever a Phoenixborn gets attacked, we can always just put a unit in the way. Oh, excuse me. I'm not meant to hit that. What petals? That's clever. Sorry? TDS is good, but nothing beats good old-fashioned cardboard. I agree. Weird setup. Do you use a keyboard shortcut to zoom in on the images? Sometimes it looks like you're doing that without your hands. I'm doing a lot of things with my feet. I have pedals. Yeah, that's the pedal question. So like all this is done with pedals. I can zoom the camera in with pedals. The only one thing I have to do with my hands is like do damage to our health. So we just lost 2 health, or pull up cards by name. But most things are done with my feet. Yeah. Do you have any videos teaching how to play Netrunner? Jeremy, how's it going? I don't have videos that teach how to play Netrunner. There's a lot of other great stuff on the internet that teach that. The videos I have on the Metropole Grid, which is my Netrunner channel, will basically teach you how to do deck building and like get better at like fundamentals, but I have no like learn to play videos. I probably should do a video just like this at some point, but they generally are a bit more structured. This is kind of a bit looser for sure. New pop-up large image tech has haunted my free time trying to get to work in my setup. Oh, let me know if you need help with it. It's like really simple to set up. Okay, that's all her turn. That's all she does. She summoned this and she hit one of our dice, and now it's back to us. So this is the thing that we can do. It is technically our turn, and as our main action, we could use our Thunder Hulk, and our Thunder Hulk now has a die on it, so we could attack. When you attack with a unit, you can either attack the Phoenixborn to the face, or you can attack any unit on the table. Now, the rules get a bit interesting, and I'm 90% sure I'm right about this. If we attack into the Phoenixborn will guard with this unit, because this unit specifically has the guard icon on it. So this unit will just get in the way. I'm pretty sure about that. This thing will do 1 damage to us. It'll counter us, is the term. We'll do 3 damage to the unit. That unit will be destroyed. I think that exists. However, if instead of attacking the Phoenixborn, we attack a non-guard unit, so say that I want to attack the Thunder Hulk into this Bird Hunter, the Phoenixborn will also guard with the guard unit. The guard unit basically does what you think it will do. It'll guard. However, if there is no guard unit and we're attacking our Thunder Hulk into this Bird Hunter, before the attack resolves or while the attack resolves, you have to roll a die. And depending on the die result, the Phoenixborn might just throw herself in the way. So if you roll 1 out of 3 times, you roll a basic die, your attack doesn't go into the Bird Hunter, it goes into Scatha. Scatha doesn't do any damage back. She'll just take the 3 damage, but when this thing attacks, it exhausts. And then this thing is largely dormant for a whole turn, so we kind of wasted its value as much as we got 3 damage. It's much more important we don't do face damage. It's much more important we can control the board. So that's a really frightening thing, is when you attack units, mind you, guard units will intervene first, but otherwise she has always a chance to intervene, and she can do that as many times as you're attacking. And that is quite frightening. Again, that is when you attack a unit. When you attack her, she takes it, or a guard unit gets in the way. If you attack a guard unit, she doesn't intervene, I'm pretty sure. Guard units have their own rules, but that is how the rules work. So we know this Bird Hunter is going to be attacking our face when the Bird Hunter attacks. When that happens, we can always just put something in the way, but notably the Bird Hunter has 3 health on it. Some of our units can recover after rounds. They can heal a bit of damage. Technically, aspect cards never heal, so any damage we do to this will stay on it, but we have to figure out how to do 3 damage to the Bird Hunter, because it's a lot of damage. This thing hits pretty hard, and it has overkill, right? Anyways, it's back to us. What do we do? What can we do? I think we just continue to set up really slowly here. So I'm going to play our next summon spell. And these look kind of similar. I think the art is like almost the same. It's just the text on the page that changes. This is Summon Spark Drone. So we're going to play this as another main action on the turn. It just puts into play. And then we can spend later, and main action exhaust us and spend a class die to place a spark drone conjuration onto your battlefield. And if the spell is charged, we can also change 2 dice in our active pool to the side of our choice. That's correct. As long as we charge this card, we have full control, or a lot of control, over our cards in our dice pool, or sorry, our dice in our dice pool. When it says change, it doesn't mean re-roll, it means you just pick them. So if we want to have power dice, we can get power dice. Now we're in a weird spot here because the only other way that we can get charge counters on this, we have 2 ways of doing it. The first way is we can use a reconfigure. Reconfigure is a side action that just says move an artifice die from a card you control to another card you control. So we could, at fast speed, side action speed, move this die to the summon spark drone, and then on another turn we can fire the spark drone and just go ahead and summon a spark drone, which we'll talk about what that is, let alone now change 2 die in our area. I think we'll probably do that. I think we're actually going to do that. The downside is the Thunderhulk can't attack when we take the battery out of it, but it can still counter. So if we're ever attacked, we can still return fire. It just can't attack on its own. But that means we're going to do it. We're going to use reconfigure. We're going to exhaust it, which means in theory we could have done this. Oh no, we've already done Issa's text. Never mind. I'm not going to do that. We're just going to leave this here. But we could have done that if we wanted to. I don't think we are going to do that. I don't think we have another way to charge. No, we don't. We might have to play the systems drafter this turn. Seen on previous streams that you talk about your alt channel and Neverwinter and intrigued me. It's linked in the description. It's called the Metropole Grid. You can find it down there. Let alone there's a link to Velma's Diner. It's in the description. I think that's what we're going to do. All we're going to do on this turn. We might summon a spark drone later. But I think we're just going to pass and see what she does. This doesn't feel great, but what can we do? Okay, behavior. She would do status stuff. She doesn't, so she's just going to roll a die because there's unrevealed aspects. Same thing. So we know the text on this. The ready spell says we have to lower one of our dice, and then she reveals the next card. This is Radiant Flash. All right. This, we can't interact with the text. So this one says Radiant Flash. When this unit comes into play, which it just did, the target opposing player must lower 1 power die in their active pool 2 levels. So power becomes a class, becomes a basic. If they cannot do that, place 1 status token on the Dragonborn. This is a 2/1/1. Now we can't do that because we have no power die, so we have to put a status counter on the Dragonborn, which means when her turn starts, she's going to have that text. So we have to worry about that. And that's it. Now, once we reveal this last card, when it's her turn, she's no longer going to roll the die. All that's going to happen is on her turn, the leftmost unit that can attack will attack us. That's it. So technically, this might be a good turn to take down the Aegis Feathers. It's just we're not very good at doing that because when this thing dies, it'll wake up something that's already attacked this turn, and that might be a problem. Okay, so do we need this thing to attack? I think we do need this thing to attack. No, I don't think we can make it attack in a good way. I think we don't. No, we actually need a class die or a power die. Whatever. I think this is the best we are going to do. So let's do Summon Spark Drone. So we'll do this. We'll exhaust it. We'll spend 1 class die before we lose all our class die. And we can just summon a Spark Drone. This is a Conjuration. We can summon up to 3 of them. Mind you, every time we play a new unit, it has to go to the right of the existing unit. And that really matters because certain cards will attack left or right. Now, Spark Drone is a pretty unassuming card. It, in fact, does very little. All it does is it has no attack. It has 2 life. Recover means how much health it will heal between rounds. And it just has unit guard. So notably, if our Thunderhulk gets attacked, we can just say the Spark Drone goes in the way. That's it. That's all this thing can do. It can guard for other units. Inherently, you can't guard for units on their own, but this does it. Yeah. I play more Ashes than ANR these days, but it's impossible to pick between these two. Comparable depth, totally different vibes. Yeah, it's totally different vibes for sure. Okay, it's back to the Phoenixborn. We're not going to do a side action, I don't think. Actually, we can. We can just play this. So we'll play Supercharge as our side action. This will be our last slot in our spell board. This is a side action, and it takes one of our tokens here, one of our dice here. I don't know if we're going to be able to use all our die this turn. We might actually be in an awkward spot. Did we play for the Spark Drone? This should have cost us 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, we did. I think we did. So Supercharge cost us 1 in a class die. I think we just paid that. And then later on in the future, as a side action, we can exhaust this. And if this spell is charged, we can add 2 to the attack value of a target unit for the remainder of the turn. Not round, but turn. That means we have to get this charge and then something else can power up. Again, that's a big part of our deck is we want to charge our cards for value. As you can see, we are the Artificer. So our setup is usually a bit slower, but we should be okay. All right. Dragonborn turn. Behavior. At the start of the Dragonborn's turn, resolve the Dragonborn status ability, and we do have a status token, so we're going to do that. And so her ability is really straightforward. It says at the start of the turn, this is called Poach. Remove 1 status counter. Okay. Deal 1 damage to the opposing player's leftmost unit or the target Phoenixborn. So we're just going to do 1 damage to the Thunderhulk. I'm not going to use the big die. We usually do. We'll just put 1 damage on it, but I like big dice for the sake of streaming. We'll just keep it simple and use the stuff that comes in the box. Now that's it. This thing survives. Like, it's not going to die. It needs to take 2 more damage as much as this doesn't recover, and it can still do as much attack as when it will attack. So it's still a very good unit at this point. Now back to the behavior, where there's 1 more aspect face down, so we have to roll. 1 more time. This goes in. The ready spell says we have to lower a die, which is a bit annoying, as much as we still have ways to control our dice that we haven't shown off yet. And then we reveal the last card, which is Seer. Okay, this is a scary card that we have to deal with, because this card comes in with status tokens. Again, now at the start of every turn, we remove a status token from all cards on the table, including this one, and we have to do its text. This card says, at the start of the Dragonborn's turn, remove 1 status token from this unit to deal 1 damage to the opposing player's target Phoenixborn. This card also does just attack for 3, and notice that this card says it will attack the rightmost unit, which currently is the Spark Drone, which is not a good trade for us. So we are now on the clock. Now it's back to us, and I'll be honest, this is a pretty bad turn 1, it feels. I think we're going to have to play the Systems Drafter, which doesn't feel great. I don't love playing the Systems Drafter, and that's because the Systems Drafter has a 1 health. Now, 1 health is okay because it might trade into like the Radiant Flash or the Aegis Feathers. But the biggest thing here is I don't love playing 1 health units on turn 1, because at the end of this round, Ready Spell 1 fires, and Ready Spell 1's progress says deal 1 damage to all opposing players' units. That just means anything on the table that has 1 health just dies. I don't think it's going to be that big of an issue. The bigger issue here is we can't charge the second Thunderhulk really easily. So whatever, we have to do what we have to do. So what is that? We're going to have to play the Systems Drafter. So we're going to play it. This is an ally. Every time we play an ally or any unit goes to the rightmost. And we're going to play this. It takes a basic action and a class die. Now we don't have a class die, so we actually can't play this. This introduces the second side action that you always have access to, or the first side action you always have access to, which is called Meditate. On your turn as a side action, so before or after a main action, you can meditate. And meditate is the ability you have to control the dice in your dice pool. When you meditate, you can discard any cards from the top of your deck, from your hand, or from your spell board. And for each card you discard, you can change a die side in your active pool. Not re-roll, but straight change. That means functionally, if we want to get 3 or 10 power die, we can do that. It'll just cost us 10 cards from the top of our deck. Totally doable. Some games come down to fatigue where 1 card matters. Hopefully this one won't. But just keep in mind, you can always control these dice at somewhat fast speed, but it does just cost you cards from hand or cards from the top of your deck, which seems cheaper because we didn't draw those, or cards from your power board, from your board, which like maybe this extra supercharge won't matter. So the question is, how many cards or how many more dice do we need in the right side? We're missing a power die to play the Systems Drafter. When we play the Systems Drafter, she has the ability to rethink. It says when this unit comes into play, remove an exhaustion token from a ready spell you control, which means we can remove the ready spell from summon Thunderhulk, and then we can summon another Thunderhulk. That seems pretty good. However, to summon a Thundercult, we're going to need another class die. So that means we at least need 2 class die to be working for us at this point. What else are we going to do on our turn? We want to play Barrier, which I think we do. This is a really powerful card in our hand. It's a reaction spell. That is a kind of card I guess we haven't talked about. This reaction spell costs us a power die. It's really expensive. And it says you may play the spell as a reaction. So after a charge unit or Phoenixborn you control is dealt damage, prevent 3 damage from being received. That's quite nice because it means our Thunderhulk will stay alive technically after an attack, which could be a valuable thing for us. This requires another die. So maybe we want to meditate 3 different die. We could play this supercharge if we wanted to, but I think that's mostly all that we can spend our die on because none of these cost die to use anymore. So there's going to be 2 extra dies at the turn, which is a bit ugly. There's no way to use errant dies. Besides, actually, there is. It's on this card. I should have showed this card a year ago, but this is Artifice Magic. This is the reference card that tells you about the different sides. I totally forgot to show this. And this card also has a side action on this. And this is actually a very good side action for us. As a side action, we can spend a die, I totally forgot about this, at instant speed or side action speed and play that die on a card you control. That doesn't do anything, but technically now that card is considered to be charged. So we probably should have done this already when we did the Spark Drone. We could have charged it and then used the Spark Drone. And when we use the Spark Drone, when it's charged, we can control the die in our bin. And then later we can reconfigure the card off of, or the die off of the Spark Drone. So I forgot about this. Technically, you get 1 reference card for each type of die that you have in your deck. So if you play, say, like Artifice die and then Compassion die, you'll actually also have a Compassion die effect, which I don't have the scan for that. But do keep in mind that every aspect you play has access to its own dice power. Soul Ashes, nice. Haven't played anything but the PvP. This is neat to see. Hey, Frisbee. I've been really impressed with Ashes Ascendancy so far, as much as I've only played like 10 games or so. Okay, so that means we want to fire this. So we probably want to get another die there, because that means we can charge the next Thunder Hulk as much as we can move this charge over. We want to be able to play, we want to be able to summon, and we want to play Barrier. So that means we need to re-roll 4 die. And I'm going to keep it that simple. As our side action, I'm going to discard the Supercharge for 1. And I'm going to mill 3 cards off the top of our deck. So we lose a Core Supplier, we lose Brilliant Display, and we lose a Core Supplier. That actually sucks. Now, we're not likely to draw through a whole deck, so like randomly ripping a card off the top of your deck is not a real cost for me, unless you're going to see every card in your deck, which we probably won't on the easiest difficulty. These could have been on the bottom of our deck and would have the same impact on the game. But this is our unique card, which is really, really good. Notice it has Issa's face on it, and Core Supplier is just such a good card too, but that's fine. And then we can just pick up 4 die and change their side. So we're just going to go ahead and make them all power die, because why wouldn't we? All right, we get 4 Bs, and that's our side action. Mind you, you can meditate next turn too. It's just a side action. And then for our main action, we're going to play the Systems Drafter. So this costs a power. We're going to instead use a class die. Sorry, this uses a power die. We're going to spend a... Sorry, this uses the class die. We're going to spend a power die instead. You can do that. You can always pay extra. And that's going to be our action. And when she comes into play, we can unexhaust a ready spell. So we'll unexhaust the Summon Thunder Hulk, which means we can summon a Thunder Hulk in the near future. Not related to this, but wouldn't the spin down D6 work for this game too? For what part of this game would the spin down work? Still, that Meditate hurts a lot because Core Supplier is often the main way to easily charge things in the back. Yeah, Core Supplier is such a good card. Like, not only is Core Supplier such a good card, when you play this, it just charges 2 cards, which is so good because all our cards want to be charged. But then the card we discarded with it is Brilliant Display, and Brilliant Display is such a fun card. It just does 1 damage for every charged card you have, and they're all instances of 1 damage, which means you just clear the board up. It is so fun. So that does physically hurt. And there's a bunch of cards in here I don't like as much as those, but whatever. We might not draw our whole deck. We probably won't, so it won't hurt. Or we did a side, which is Meditate. We did a main action, which is play Systems Drafter. It's now Scatha's turn. And the behavior says at the beginning of the turn, we have to do all the status abilities. So she doesn't have status, but Seer does. So we have to remove 1 from Seer and do Seer's text, which says, remove 1 status token, deal 1 damage to the opposing player target Phoenixborn. We take 1 damage down to 17. 18 is more than average health from my understanding. We can take 16 more damage and not care about it. So it's a resource to spend. So I'm not actually scared about this. And very importantly, when something attacks us, we always can block once per turn with our face. We exhaust ourselves to show, like physically exhaust the card to show that. But when the Bird Hunter attacks right now, we can decide to, in theory, put our face in the way if we want to. And that's what's going to happen. Because if we go to the rest of the behavior card, now all the aspects are revealed. So we just do the text on the bottom. Main action, attack, if able. If not, pass. So this is firstly the only way that she can pass, but she'll now attack if able. Attack if able now looks at the leftmost card that is unexhausted, and if it can attack, it can attack. Now, Aegis Feathers is a block card. It's a guard card. Notice the guard symbol, so it will never attack. So now the leftmost card that can attack is the Bird Hunter. And so now the Bird Hunter is going to attack us. It'll attack for 3, and its target is us, the Phoenixborn. It's going to go for the face. It also has overkill, so if it ever defeats something while it's attacking, it'll do 1 more damage to our Phoenixborn. So it's attacking us for 3. What can we do here? We can take it to the face. We can also put any of our units in the way. And if the unit is unexhausted, if it is blocking, we can choose to exhaust it as well to make it counter. So for instance, we can put our old Thunder Hulk in the way. And what will happen is we'll exhaust the Thunder Hulk. It will counter for 3. It will take 3 damage, and these 2 things will trade. Is that good? Yeah, that's fine. It's a wounded Thunder Hulk. It's fine. The problem is that this charge, we're going to lose it. Like, it's a wasted charge. That does suck. Maybe we could have meditated 1 more, but I think that's okay. I think we're going to trade into that because none of our other cards can trade into the Bird Hunter really well. Notably also, once we attack, the Aegis Feathers will get killed, and it will technically wake up the leftmost card that'll have an exhaustion token on it. So if this Bird Hunter attacks, we take it to the face and gets an exhaustion token, it's going to wake up later this turn, and that's a bad spot. So we're just going to trade into it. So Bird Hunter is going to attack us, and we're going to choose to put the Thunder Hulk in the way. So we're going to exhaust the Thunder Hulk to counter and guard. And so now they both simultaneously do their damage to one another. Bird Hunter does 3 to the Thunder Hulk, which defeats it. And it says after it defeats the unit, with target Phoenixborn takes 1 damage because it has overkill. And Thunderhulk will do 3 damage back to the Bird Hunter. Now, we also have Overkill, but notice Overkill says when it's attacking, technically the Thunderhulk is not attacking, it is technically countering, so it won't fire its text. But the Bird Hunter is destroyed, and whenever an aspect card is destroyed, it has a blood value, and that's how much damage the aspect will take, or sorry, the Dragonborn will take. So it takes 2. This goes to the discard pile, we lose our Thunderhulk. This goes to the exhausted pile, and our leftmost unit, these all just kind of slide down. This doesn't go to the discard pile, it's Conjuration, just goes back to the deck. Okay, cool. That's now where we're at the point where we're trading blows, and I think that's totally fine. It's morning here in my country, so I'm off to work. Gonna watch this later. Enjoy your day, B-Pix. Enjoy a good old, what are we at now? A Wednesday, I guess? Okay, so we know next turn what's going to happen is we're going to take 1 damage from this, and the Radiant Flash is going to attack. So we can now start to plan our turn. The Radiant Flash attacks for 1, so it's probably fine to put the Systems Drafter in the way, and it's going to attack our Phoenixborn, so we can't just put the Systems Drafter in the way. Again, our goal is just to make sure we can trade into the table. That's probably going to be the best thing we can do. We might not be able to defeat everything, because specifically the Spark Drone doesn't attack for anything. It can just technically block, but it's not going to be super relevant. So it's back to us. I think our main action is once again going to be to summon a Thunderhulk. Technically, the Seer is going to be attacking the rightmost card, so it will trade with the Thunderhulk. So we'll exhaust this. We'll spend basic and technically a class. We'll use a power and we'll summon a Thunderhulk, and it's back. Notably, I think we might have I think our math was bad. We probably committed. But actually, we might be able to use a die to supercharge a Spark Drone to trade into the Aegis Feathers. I think we'll probably do that as much as we'll lose our Spark Drone. That's our main action. Side action, we can charge the Thunderhulk. Technically, the Thunderhulk only matters if it's charged if it wants to attack. I don't actually think we'll attack with it, so I think we're gonna kind of chill. Side action, let's just go do this because these dice are now useless to us. We're gonna use the Artifice Magic ability, and we're just gonna go ahead and charge a card. So we're gonna place this on Supercharge, and when Supercharge has a charge on it, we can use that to give a card +2 attack for a turn, so that's fine. Goes back to the Scatha. And again, at this point, I won't be pulling the behavior card over and over again because it's really that straightforward. So we just do the aspect thing. Seer fires, removes its last token, and hits us for 1 damage. We're down to 15. Very importantly, a card that's left on the table next round will refill the status tokens that it requires. So we don't defeat the Seer. Next turn, it will come in with 2 more status tokens, and it'll continue to do the bad thing to us. So we have to deal with it. All right. All aspects are revealed, so we just attack. The guard can attack, so Radiant Flash is going to be attacking. Radiant Flash is going to be attacking us for 2. It's going to be targeting us as a Phoenixborn. We're just going to head and exhaust the System Drafter to put her in the way, and she'll guard. She does 1 damage. Radiant Flash does 1 damage. They trade. System Drafter is not a Conjuration, so it goes to the discard pile. Radiant Flash dies and has blood 1. Dragonborn takes 1. Back to us. Honestly, there's nothing we really have to do here. We were meant to charge the Thunderhulk. I forgot. We're meant to charge the Thunderhulk. I'm going to charge that instead because I forgot we had this in our hand. It was behind the microphone. So we're going to be not charging the Supercharge. We're going to be charging this instead. It's totally fine. On our turn, we can attack, but I don't think we want to. I think we're actually just going to wait here because if we attack, the guard gets in the way and the guard is not the scariest card. So as our main action, we're just going to pass. Now, there's no punishment to passing here. If you pass while there's a face down aspect card, you have to increase a die, but that's all we have to do. Goes back to Scatha. She has no status tokens. Her behavior says the leftmost will attack, so the Seer is now just going to attack us. It's going to be attacking 3 into the rightmost card, which will be the Thunderhulk. We're going to choose to exhaust the Thunderhulk so that it can counter. Technically, it'll be attacked anyways, but this means it'll do its damage back. But we're now going to play this barrier as a reaction, and we're going to spend our last die. So at least we used all 10 dice this turn. It says you may play a spell after a charged unit or Phoenixborn you control is dealt damage, prevent 3 of the damage being received. So while the Seer is doing 3 damage to the Thunderhulk, we'll not take the 3 damage, but the Thunderhulk will deal 3 damage back to the Seer, and the Seer is defeated, having 2 life, and will take 2 blood. In theory, we could have maybe traded in, but this seems fine. Scatha is down to 25. Now the Thunderhulk is exhausted, so we can't attack with it. But we do have a play here. What we can do is we can now, on our fast action, our side action, we're going to use Reconfigure. We're going to exhaust this to move a power die over to the Supercharge. And now we will pass. No! I thought we were going to do something cool here. But the problem is if we pass now, then Scatha will pass because she can't attack with this. And then 2 players have passed consecutively. What I wanted to do is put this on the Supercharge and then attack with the Spark Drone. But the problem is if we want to attack with a Spark Drone, we need Supercharge to fire to give it. But Supercharged firing to give it +2 attack is another side action. We can only take 1 side action a turn. So I wonder if we missed the side action last turn, but we technically needed the thing on here, so I don't think we did. So if that's the case, we can't do the cool Spark Drone play where we would have traded into the Aegis Feathers. So we can't do that. That's okay. That's it. There's nothing else we can do. We can technically attack with the Spark Drone if we wanted to. It just doesn't do anything. And we're gonna have to pass. It goes to Scatha. Scatha is going to have to pass because it can't attack with anything. Guard unit can't attack from my understanding. So 2 players have consecutively passed and we have gotten to the end of round 1. So we've taken a bit of damage. Scatha has taken a bit more damage, but we've now set up our board, which is a very big difference because next turn we have all these cards starting in play and we'll be drawing 5 more cards. But next turn she'll be the first player. So she actually gets to go first against us and we're kind of on the back foot. All right. So then we go to the recovery phase. Any card that has the text recovery on it will recover. So this is not a great example because she only has 2 health, but I guess we'll show our friend that we lost here, the core supplier. So every unit that we have that has recovery would just recover that much health. So the core supplier would heal 1, which technically can maybe it'll be a full health. So all things do that. All exhaustion tokens are removed. And then all dice, whether I just lost some exhaustion tokens. All dice, whether they're in our active area or on our cards, enter our exhaustion pool. So that's the last part of this. Again, apologies, I don't have a scan of this card. It doesn't exist. And that's it. I think at this point now, this goes up to Scatha and we go down to the second round. So a couple things happen. We go to the first true dragon phase. One thing that I think that you miss is that you have multiple aspects out there. There has been a Jaws icon. They all swing at the same time. What? Wait, what? That is definitely a rule that I've missed. No, get out. What does that mean? I'm pretty sure I'm getting some rules wrong. That is a wild rule. Wait, multiple aspects can attack at the same time? Hold the phone. This is the rules book, the rule book. It's good. I like it. Okay, so where would this be? If a Dragonborn, this is what your opponent declares an attack. For each attacking unit, page 20. Yeah, that's where I am. Page 20. I missed that rule for a while too. Me too. Hold on. If there are no face down attack aspects, the Dragonborn will take an attack. Okay, attack. When the Dragonborn is instructed to attack, look at either the leftmost units that can attack or another unit if specified. Declare the target and attackers using the unit's intent icon. So if it's a center, this unit and all other aspects with the center icon that can attack will attack the opposing player's Phoenixborn. Why is that not in bold? That is such an important rule that is put in there in a really unassuming way. There's some like really important rules that are not called out that much. Okay, that's important to know. I don't think that actually changed anything about that turn. Maybe we would have got ourselves 1 fewer turn to do cool stuff at the end, but I don't think it really mattered. Maybe we're there on turn. But the idea is that the 2 things that we're going to attack face would attack face at the same time. Thank you for the shout out. That's huge. But if it's left and right, excuse me, only one of them goes because it's targeting 1 unit. It mirrors PvP rules. Yeah, that makes sense. Because in PvP, if you're attacking a unit, you can only declare 1 attacker. But if you're attacking a Phoenixborn directly, you can attack with multiple units at the same time. So I get why that comes up. But yeah, okay. I've never played a game with that correctly. Let's see if how that changes things. I don't know if it would be a huge impact on this turn. It might actually matter because of the side action, main action thing. Balancing the side versus main economy in this game is super cool. Also, the artwork is amazing. Artwork has just been consistently really good and really colorful. And like the kind of borderless cards are a real treat. Yeah, that's sick. That's actually really cool. Okay, good to know that. I'm very excited to have learned a new rule that will actually change the texture of this game somewhat significantly. Okay, thank you. So what are we doing here? We go to the dragon phase. So firstly, we cleanse. Cleanse means that if there's any cards that she controls that are not her cards, so like we put cards in her board or alterations that technically discard them, I think. I don't think it actually matters for this box, but it does matter for a bigger card pool. Then she gains statuses, and she will gain a status here because for every aspect that's still on the board, she gains 1 status. This is a punishment for not clearing the board out. So because there's 1 Aegis Feathers here, the downside is we get 1 status, which she will use to hurt us in the future. Then we refill our aspects. Because we're on threat 4, because we're playing the basic difficulty, we only refill up to 4 slots. I think the Aegis Feathers counts. And then we progress. And progress is where the ready spell changes. And this is a really big part of what we're able to play around because the ready spell will be different here. So we have to do the progress ability. Ready spell 1 says, deal 1 damage to all opposing players' units. This is why I talked about not wanting to play a 1 health unit, but at least we traded with it. So each of these gets 1 damage, which doesn't matter that much in how the game should go. Remove this from the game. And now the next spell is Ready Spell 2. And notably, every time that she rolls one of her dragon class cards, now we have to do the activation, and now the spell is a bit worse. Or maybe not worse, different. So now Ready Spell 2 says, deal 1 damage to the opposing player's choice of their target rightmost unit or Phoenixborn. So now she's attacking on the left or on the right, which can hurt, especially if we put a 1 health unit out there. But notably, and this is what I found at playing at this difficulty, you can just always take these to the face because she doesn't really threaten the face that much, and we have 15 health to use. 1 damage on a unit is not equivalent to 1 damage to your Phoenixborn, at least on the easier difficulties, because you really need your units to survive to double trade, best case scenario. Your face is your face. You can just take damage to your face. So we'll just keep that in mind, but Ready Spell 2 is different. Now it's a prepare phase. So we roll our dice first, and then we decide to discard any cards we still have in our hand, which are none, and then we draw back up to 5. We made it as close to PvP as possible. Also, you can keep dice in your active pool if you want to at the end of the round if you like them. I thought you couldn't. I thought the rule said that you actually couldn't do that. Shemendrick, how's it going? I know you were into Ashes. Corey, also he's saying we made it as close as possible. Are you on the Ashes team? On my favorite channel, thank you. Oh, look at that. It takes us a second turn to naturally. You saw that. It was a power die. We roll 1 power die. That is not good. We actually use power dice quite well. Like most classes you'd expect to do, but that is a very bad roll. And even that we've been rolling bad, you notice we can still like competitively do stuff, which is good. I'm on the playtest team. Oh, very cool. But like, wait, now I feel like a weirdo disagreeing with you, but I'm pretty sure I read the rule that you can't keep your die. Can you actually keep your die? Why am I double checking someone on the rules team? This seems like such a silly waste of time. There's no shot, right? Why am I doing this? Where's the upkeep phase? Yeah, recovery phase. It says move all dice on cards you control to the owner's exhausted pools. Oh, move any number of dice from your active pool. Okay, you're totally correct. I wanted to read that so I'd learn, and also the shame of being wrong publicly while I was like being very stubborn is going to be the best teacher. So that's great. All right, now we don't have to draw into 5, so nothing to it. This is such a fun card. So this is one of her unique cards. She only has 1 unique card, so you can play only 3 copies of it, but other characters have a bigger card pool, can choose between their uniques. This is 1 basic die, which is so cheap, main action. It says, resolve the following effect for each artifice die on cards you control, deal 1 damage to target unit and opponent controls. This is really good at picking out 1 health units, let alone even 3 times to a 4 attack, 3 health units, really, really good. The issue is we're not very good at charging a lot of our cards because we lost 2 of our guys who do that well. All right, Recharge is going to show us the last kind of glyph we haven't seen yet. The cost to play Recharge, which is an action spell, so it just plays and goes to our discard pile, is that we have to play a power die, and we have to discard a card from our hand. That's what that glyph is underneath that. So this costs us 2 cards from our hand. Now, this is a really strong card. It says remove an exhaustion and 2 wound tokens from a charged card you control. That functionally allows you to like double trade with a big Thunderhulk, which is good. Again, this game is very much about board management against the Dragonborns, but that's a very expensive card. And from my understanding, cards that require you to discard cards from hand are very expensive to have in your first 5 because you usually have a plan to play all 5 of your first cards. Thundersuit, love this card so much because I like recovery a lot, and this also reminds me of Doomtown. But this is an alteration spell, so we attach it to a unit we control, or technically you can attach it to the enemy's units, and it'll just give them +2 attack, +2 life, and 1 recover. And while attaching the spell, place an artifice die on the exhausted pool on the attached unit, so it also charges the card you attach it to, which means the Thunderhulk is good to go, as much as it's so goofy to put the Thunderhulk in a suit. This is another nice thing to attach to your allies, because all your allies have recovery, and this makes them even stronger. Hey, he's here. Okay, so we do have a combo. This is the core supplier. This is the last one we have because every card's a 3 of in these precon decks. This costs 2 die, which is not bad, not the most expensive die. And when it comes into play, you take 2 artifice die that you just paid for the core supplier and put them on cards you control. And again, our cards are really good when they're charged, let alone this is 2 more damage this turn. Last card is another brilliant display. This is going to be a lot of damage this turn because we can do core supplier, Thundersuit, and then 2 brilliant displays, and that'll be like at least we can do 8 damage pings here. Gonna be quite good. Gonna be good. You can definitely keep dice. Yeah, I learned. Doomtown was a treat of a game. Doomtown's so great. It's so much harder now to get in Canada. It's honestly a shame. But my partner and I, it's on our 10x10. We play a lot of Doomtown. This year, we have to play a lot more Doomtown. All right, so now we go to Scatha, and the behavior card doesn't change. It's only the ready spell that changed. So firstly, she's going to do her status ability because she has it, which is going to be bad for us because we have to remove this counter and deal 1 damage to the leftmost unit, which means our spark drone will be deleted because it had 1 wound and it's going to take a 2nd wound. So back to the conjuration pile it goes. Then we do the behavior. And notably, it's very likely we're going to fill in and get another status token when we roll the last die. So the behavior here just rolls the die. Yep, we've only rolled that die ever, which is the likely outcome. So we have to activate the Dragonborn's Ready spell, and this goes in here, which means she gets one status, and these all reset. Now, the other deck, Arren's deck, is really good at forcing your opponent, which is the Dragonborn, to lower their counters. So I've played entire games where this is not fired once, because you just keep lowering her dice over and over and over again. Now, the Ready spell here actually is kind of important. This says deal 1 damage to the opposing player's choice of their target rightmost unit or Phoenixborn. If we allow it to deal 1 damage to this Thunderhulk, it means that this status counter on the following turn will defeat the Thunderhulk. So, like I said, for many reasons, we're just going to take it to the face, go down to 14. Then we reveal the next card. All right, it's another Aegis Feathers. That's fine. These don't stack really well together because they can actually. This actually might be a fun turn to do Brilliant Display at fast speed to delete these Aegis Feathers. But I think we're probably just going to try and counter into whatever these cards are and then delete these quickly with a Brilliant Display or two. We'll see how it is. Do you think you'll play competitive? Probably. I don't think. I would like to play this game PvP casually, because I'm probably bad at it. I am classically very bad at games that require you to trade units into units. I'm just awful at it. But I've been really enjoying this game's systems, and deck building seems like a treat, but I don't know. Unit trading games, I'm like just ass at them. Very, very bad consistently. That doesn't mean I'm not having fun, but like I just basically need to find a casual play level to play. Dura saying outside of the Artifice precon, you have ways to get your allies back from your discard. Yeah, Ceremonial do that? I forget. One of the die colors, I think, cost you, or one of the characters, I think it was like take damage equal to the health to grab a unit back from your bin. Something like that. Okay, so it's our turn. So what do we want to do? Usually what I want to do is just summon Thunderhulks. We also can charge or summon Spark Drone, and then when we do that, when we fire the Spark Drone, which will bring in a guy that can block and protect our Thunderhulk, especially if we have something that attacks left or right, that it'll target our Thunderhulk. This Thunderhulk is probably good to trade into whatever shows up, so I'm not too worried about it. But like, this is the interesting thing, is we pull something on the rightmost, and we pull like, you know, our blocker, that will just trade into whatever shows up. I'm assuming we always pull a summon Thunderhulk, but also a smarter person would do the math on how much dice we can spend this turn, because we want to spend 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is 7, 8. So that leaves us with 2 dice extra, which means we can do this. We probably won't play because it requires 2 cards from hand and our hand is sick. As much as the second Brilliant Display might not be brilliant. So then we could do maybe 9 on summon Spark Drone, I guess. Maybe we just do that. And also because Ready Spell 1 is not here anymore, she's not going to be attacking our dice pool. As much as there is one card that when revealed makes us lower this die down. If not, we have to take a status token, which hits us to the face, which is bad. So I'm just going to summon a Thunderhulk, I guess. I mean, when things are bad, summon Thunderhulks. So we'll exhaust it. We'll spend a class and a basic, and we'll summon a Thunderhulk. Mind you, we can only have 2 Thunderhulks because, as you'll see on the card itself, let alone literally that's how many you have, there's a little 2 in the bottom left corner. So you can only have 2 of these Conjurations in your Conjuration deck. That's as many you get in the product anyways. Side action, will we do anything? We can move charge counters. We can charge a thing. We have no reason to charge this thing proactively. I don't think we're going to do a side action. We're just going to pass. So it's back to Scatha. Behavior, she pings us for 1. Our leftmost has to take 1 damage, and then she rolls a die. All right, we finally found this one. This is a fun one. I actually like this one a lot. So this is the rare one, the dragon ability. So she reveals and attacks if possible. So she's going to reveal and immediately attack with rapid flight. So no rest. This can just like speed up plans. So this has quick strike and it's attacking the rightmost. And quick strike is exactly what you think it is in something like Magic the Gathering. This does damage first. So it's going to be attacking our Thunderhulk. In theory, we can just take 2 damage to the Thunderhulk, it'll survive, and Rapid Flight will survive. It'll just be exhausted. But we can also exhaust Thunderhulk, and it'll do 3 damage back. So Rapid Flight does 2 to it. And then we do 3 damage back, which destroys Rapid Flight. And she takes 1 damage because of Blood 1. Now, Thunderhulk notably can't attack when it's not charged, but it can still counter, which is good. And also, with these Aegis Feathers, we don't want to leave cards on the table that are exhausted. So we're very incentivized to destroy anything that's attacking us. Now this Thunderhulk can't counter anymore unless we unexhaust it, which in theory recharge is actually not that bad here. It might be better than a Brilliant Display because Brilliant Display is much better if you're clearing the board than just like pinging face. And 1 Brilliant Display will deal with both of these. We'll probably can just trade into this whenever it attacks. So there's a chance we can recharge a Brilliant Display just to ready this Thunderhulk. We have to watch out though, it's a basic action or like a main action, so we could do it now. Yeah, seems good. Ashes is 100% a resource management card battler. Sequencing can feel like an ever-folding puzzle. Sequencing is like such a big deal. So much of this is like, you know what your opponent is capable of and making sure you can do things in the right order. Whereas like sometimes going later in a turn is better because you can protect your units, but then having a unit earlier on the board is better because then if they play a unit, you can just attack into it as much as they can protect it with their Phoenixborn. Speaking of that, let's just play a core supplier. So we'll spend it. We'll do a power. Sorry, a class and a basic. I always don't know the names of them. So when this comes into play, this is an ally. When this unit comes into play, put up to 2 artifice die from your exhausted pool into cards you control. So we'll put 1 on Summon Spark Drone, which allows us to control Summon Spark Drone. And then we could put 1 on one of these Thunder Hulks. I don't think we need to. I think we might as well put 1 on Supercharge, which is useful. Because if we Thundersuit something up, we probably Thundersuit the core supplier. Probably. We just don't really need to have the counter on the Thunder Hulk because we can move it later. That seems fine. That's our main. Side action. Oh, I forgot. We can always do Issa's text, which is not bad text. We can draw 2 cards. Now, drawing cards in this game is not as good as many other card games because at the end of the day, extra cards don't matter if you don't have extra die. However, this also charges one of our cards. And on this turn, we have more charging than we need. So I don't think I'm going to do this now as much as this could be challenged by like a Phoenixborn card. Speaking of Dragonborn card, all we have to do here is, well, I guess we roll a die. All right, it's a crown. So we either have to take 1 damage to a rightmost unit, which will hit the core supplier, or we can take it to the face. That is ready spell 2. We're just going to go ahead and take it to the face because we like to do that. So we'll take it to the face and then we'll reveal the last card. I've never seen that before. That is goofy. 3 Aegis Feathers on the table. These don't attack. This is the weirdest board state. So these don't attack. Next turn, Scatha is just going to pass. Which means if we get 3 charge counters, we can just brilliant display this, clear the board up, and then just go into the face with all these units as much as we're going to need the charge counters on them. Yeah, seems good. Seems actually quite good here. I think we're going to do a lot of damage to face. And there's a really weird thing about this game that feels broken. Like it feels like something I'm surprised with, and I don't know if I'm doing it wrong, is that next turn, if we clear the table, we'll become the first player. And in theory, we can just attack with all our units. Now that's somewhat bad because our units will be exhausted. But if you're just within face damage of attacking twice in a row, you can attack twice in a row. It's weird because she can't do much. If there's no units can guard. But we just got 3 guard units, which is very, very funny. Okay, so brilliant display. For that to be good, we want to charge another card. So we can charge another card by either attaching our Thundersuit to core supplier, or we probably want to attach a Thundersuit to our Thunder Hulk. We do have to pay attention that the ready spell 2 here, when it's discarded, when we progress next round, it does 3 damage to our leftmost unit. So investing heavily on the leftmost unit is just a waste of time. This Thunder Hulk will die. So if anything, we're going to invest in this Thunder Hulk or into the core supplier. And I actually like the core supplier better. So yeah, let's just do let's put a Thundersuit on. So it's an alteration. So we're going to spend a class and a basic. We're going to attach it to our core supplier, and it says, when attaching the spell, place an artifice die from your exhausted pool onto the attached unit. So now we have 3 artifice cards. We're running out of space. This thing now attaches its stats together, so it has 4 health, recovery 2, attacks for 4. It's a very good unit. Very, very, very good unit. Okay, now it's back to Scatha. She can't do anything. Like, she's actually locked up. Is it rightmost? No, it's leftmost. Sorry, Matt. But yeah, the behavior here says if there are no face down aspects, attack if able, guard units can attack. So she just passes, which means as soon as we pass, we can end the round. Obviously, we don't want to do that, but we have to watch out. We always have to be able to not pass if we want to continue setting up. I think the ready spell 2 is leftmost, excuse me. It says deal 3 damage to each opposing player's leftmost unit. Yeah, it's leftmost, right? Rightmost. Back to us. Let's play Brilliant Display. So as an action, we'll spend a basic. Resolve the following effect for each artifice die on cards you control. Are we going to spend 3 more die? This is going to be 1 die. We can spawn 2 die. We can charge with a 3rd die. Yeah, I think we're going to use all our dice here. So Brilliant Display, we're going to fire. We're going to do 1 damage, 1 damage, 1 damage. Knock these out. Each of them does 1 damage to Scatha. She's defeated. Or these are defeated. And we've cleared the board. She's down to 21. We're going to do big damage this turn. Okay. That's not a ready spell, so it doesn't go to her spell board. It goes to her. We can take a side action. We won't. She passes. It goes to us. We can play a basic action. I'm going to play Recharge. just because it uses our hand. In theory, we're wasting 3 damage here, but I think if we talk with the Thunder Hulk, it's the same. Yeah, actually, if we attack with the Thunder Hulk, is the same. There's no point to do it. Oh, no, but it heals the Thunder Hulk. That can be good, right? So we'll do recharge. We'll spend a power die, and we'll discard a card. Remove an exhaustion and 2 wound counters from a card you control. So we'll fix the Thunder Hulk. As our side action, we will pass. Goes to her. She passes. It goes back to us. We will do Summon Spark Drone. So we're going to spend basic. And we're going to exhaust this. Sorry, that goes here. We'll exhaust it. We can technically change 2 dice in our bin to whatever side we want. I guess we'll make this a power die, which can matter. And then we can summon a Spark Drone. Side action, we will use Reconfigure, which we can exhaust. And we can move this to Thunder Hulk. Yeah, that's fine. Pass. Back to us. Okay. We will use Isis Text. I guess we're drawing more cards here. Yeah, we should have done this first because we could have discarded a less impactful card. So we're going to use Isis Text. So we're going to exhaust and spend a class die. Class die to draw 2 cards, which these cards are going to be useless for obvious reasons. We have no more resources. We should have done this sooner. So recharge on Systems Drafter, whatever. And then we can put a card from our die on a card we control. That's that. That's a side action. Now as a main action, recharge is only for a charge card. Oh, yeah, we had to do that first. You're right. Recharge is only for a charge card. So we have to recharge the charged Thunder Hulk. So we had to put the counter on it first, which would have forced us to do a better line anyways. So yeah, we just had to do that in a different order, but 100%. We did that in a bad order, but also in a legal order. But good shout out. That makes sense, obviously, with the name. But yeah, we are going to get there eventually. We just had to do it sooner. Okay, so now we're going to attack. So we're going to attack with technically as many units as we want in the same turn. We are going to attack with this as a side action. So we're just going to attack with these 3 at the same time. So this attacks for 3, for 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. They all get exhausted. There's no blocking going on here because they're all going to her face. So these all get exhausted and she just takes 10. Yeah, we might have lethal immediately, but actually probably not. Then it goes back to her. She passes. It goes to us. We'll use our side action on Supercharge. So we'll exhaust this. And now we're going to add +2 to the attack value of a target unit for the remainder of a turn because this spell is charged. So the Spark Drone now has +2. And then we're going to attack with a Spark Drone as our main. So it's going to go into her. And because it's charged, she'll take 2 damage. She goes down to 9. That's everything. Not the best turn. We could have ordered that better, but not too bad at all. And so now we go to our upkeep, which means we have to unexhaust our cards. We have to return all our die from our cards to our exhausted pool. And in theory, if anything has a recovery on it, which this Thunder Hulk doesn't, they would recover. And that's it. So to make sure we're on the same track, we'll just watch this. Mind you, in terms of our battlefield, we can only have 1 more unit. We only are allowed 5 units, so we're getting to a full battlefield. We will become the first player, and we go to the Dragon phase. So the Dragon phase, she cleanses. So any cards that were attached to her that don't belong to her, she gets rid of them. We now go to the gain status. So if there's any aspects left on the table, she would get more status tokens. That doesn't happen. And then she replenishes her aspects. Is this your first time playing Ashes? No, I played the Ashes PvP mostly 10 years ago. Oh, I shouldn't have looked at that. 10 years ago. I have played Red Rains like maybe a handful of times, and I played this like about a dozen times this weekend. But not enough to be like super comfortable. But I think we can fly through the next game way faster, and we won't do a rules teach so much. Okay, then finally, progress. So we have to do the ready spell. So ready spell 2 will advance to ready spell 3. So the progress says deal 3 damage to each opposing player's leftmost unit. So this Thunder Hulk takes 3 damage, which is more than enough to return it to the Conjuration pile. And then we reveal ready spell 3, which is the last ready spell, and that one is going to be on the table for the rest of the game. I have not won yet before ready spell 3 is revealed, which is probably very difficult, but ready spell 3 says its spell ability is the target opposing player may discard 1 card from their hand or off the top of their draw pile if they do not or cannot deal 1 damage to the target Phoenixborn. And I talked about this game maybe being a bit easy. We have 13 health left, and we're going to win the game before we take 13 damage. So whenever this fires, we can just take 1 damage to our card pool or just the top of the deck. It doesn't really matter. All right, now it's up to us. We have to roll a dice. Let's see if we can roll more than 1 power die. I've only played it twice. Still have yet to decide how I feel on it. It's so different with only playing 1-2 cards per turn. Yeah, but your turns are really long. It's like Yeah, you're doing a small thing and like jockeying for like board and stuff like that, but you do a lot of things in a round. You're right, you only do 1 to 2 things per turn. We are rolling shockingly bad. 1 power die. Ooh, this is a really bad roll. 4 class die, 5 basic. 5 basic is not likely. On average, you're only rolling like what, 3 basic usually? So that's weird. And notably for how bad we've rolled, we still like can play whatever we want. We just have to meditate and it just takes us side actions, which is fine. Okay, technically here we can discard any cards we want and we can redraw up to 5. So we're allowed to discard cards. This Systems Drafter is not particularly good here. It's a small unit that's not incredibly impactful. It allows us to spawn another Thunderhulk. Now, Scatha Kalani only has 9 health, which if we talk with the Core Supplier for 4 and the Thunderhulk for 3, like we're very close to winning the game. We won't win, but we could have maybe held on last turn to the last Brilliant Display instead of discarding it, which we did biff it. That probably would have ended the game. So I think I don't care about this. It can summon, like what the Systems Drafter does, it readies one of our ready cards. Technically, that means you can like supercharge twice in a turn, which could matter. But we usually generally use it to summon Thunderhulk twice. But we only have 2 Thunderhulks anyway, so I don't think that's useful. Discarding a card is technically expensive, but we're going to not get to the end of the deck before the game is over. Now, Recharge is a really good card, and it means we can attack twice with the Thunderhulk, and that seems a bit better because we're very close to like defeating the game. How does this game compare to Marvel Champions? It's similar in some ways. I don't know. I haven't played enough of it. Marvel Champions is more about like your hero deck is much more unique because your hero deck is 15 cards on top of an aspect card. Here, like your hero ability, which mind you should be unexhausted, is just 1 card, and then you have access to unique cards. So if you want to like embody a unique hero, Marvel Champions does that, where every like hero kit's a fair bit different. I'm not gonna keep this. We'll draw Barrier. I like this card as much as it is expensive the way that we're rolling. It just prevents 3 damage. Okay, 2 barriers. Another Systems Drafter, thanks. And a Thundersuit. I do like the Thundersuit. Now, if I'm not mistaken, there's no rule that says you can't put a Thundersuit on top of a person in a Thundersuit and make a very thunderous suit, because that will bring the Core Supplier to a lot of damage. Okay, it's back to us. We go first. So I think we just want to get cards on the table. Charging at Thunderhulks is going to be a bit expensive because we only have 1 power die. And we discarded 2 more copies of Core Supplier, which is our good charge card. So I'm going to start like most turns. And again, I'm not the best at this game, but I think summoning a Thunderhulk seems good. We'll have 1 on left, 1 on right, which means if we see any big attacker that attacks left or right, we have our 2 flanks kind of covered. So we'll spend a basic and class to summon our last Thunderhulk. Has to go on the right. Side action, we can just go ahead and I think we're just going to go ahead and use our Issa text while we can. So we should have done this first. Let's be honest. I don't think it's going to matter that much. We're going to spend a class die. We're going to exhaust her. This is our side action. We're going to draw 2, which give us more options. A 3rd Thundersuit. We can do the triple Thundersuit and another summon Thunderhulk. One thing that's only come up now is that this card is in our hand, but it's also on the table. If you have 2 cards with the same name, you can actually stack them. I forget the name for this. It's called like Focus, I think. But these 2 cards technically can hold the same spellboard slot. And our character is limited at 4 spellboard slots. Now, each of these spells technically has its own exhaustion and has its own dice counters, which means we can just summon more Thunderhulks because I can exhaust this one and I can exhaust that one. Now, for Summon Spark Drone, again, this Spark Drone, if we exhaust it and it's charged, the next Spark Drone not necessarily will be charged. We have to charge it independently. But that's a way that you can double up on cards. And there's a whole bunch of ready spells that say like, oh, if this card is focused, which means there's more than 1 copy in the slot, it gets more and more powerful, which I do think there's some characters that just swing into that a lot more actively. All right, finally, part of our hero text is we have to charge a card, and we're just going to charge the leftmost Thunderhulk, and we're going to throw in some damage. It's back to Scatha. Her behavior, there's no statuses, so she just rolls a die. All right, we haven't rolled this one yet. That's not going to do much here. Now, notably, because it's still the basic side, it doesn't lock into there. But now she would have to attack if able, which she can't because there's nothing to attack, so we just reveal. All right, Dragon Rage. This is a scary one. So this one targets the leftmost, which means we'd rather charge the rightmost, I guess. And when this unit is declared as an attacker, place 1 status token on Dragonborn. So that means she'll do 1 more damage to us. He attacks for 3 life, so it's hard for us to survive that. But actually now it's good, because if this thing attacks Thunderhulk, we can just go ahead and barrier it to keep it safe, as much as we only have 1 of these die. So flipping this actually could challenge the die. Hey, yeah, it is focus, isn't it? Yeah. MC is PvE first and a superhero game. Ashes is PvP first and is a magical resource battler. It also feels radically different. Yeah, it feels very, very different. The big thing also about Marvel Champions is like you take all your actions in a row and then the villain does something. This is more about like timing. It's a bit more of a puzzle and it's less of a power fantasy. Like inherently, Spider-Man is meant to be a power fantasy. As much as Marvel Champions can be hard, of course it is. But this feels much trickier. Like you have to puzzle it out what the thing is going to do to you because you kind of have to like weave in your turns around its turns. It's neat. Okay, I kind of want to charge this because if we charge this, we can control our dice. But the only way for us to charge this easily is by using our Artifice Magic side action, which uses the good die we wanted to use. Now, that's not bad, and we could put in another Spark Drone. The Spark Drones are not the best card in our matchup right now. We can also just attack into this thing. This is 4 health, this is 4 health. I don't love to do that. We can also just attack with the Core Supplier into Scatha, putting her down to 5 health. But she, in theory, could roll a die, and if she rolls the die that blocks for her, well, that doesn't matter. She actually wouldn't do that, because we're attacking her face at the end of the day. So I don't know what we do here. This is charged, right? You could end the game here if you want to. 3. Oh yeah, we could. We could just win. Oh yeah, we could win, right? So all we have to do is a side action. We charge this, and then we attack. And when you attack a Phoenixborn, you can attack with multiple units at the same time. So we attack 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. They go into Scatha. Scatha takes 10. Easy. I mean, fine. We had 13 more health. Our table was good. That's what I mean. I think the precons are good enough that the base difficulty shouldn't be that hard. Now, if we're attacking a character on the table, she could block for one of those characters. But when you're attacking an aspect, it's only 1-to-1 battle. And then she can intervene or a guard unit can intervene. But we can just go face. And so what we did there is we just said attack. And we're going to attack with what? We're going to attack with this. We're going to attack with this. We can attack with the Spark Drone. It just doesn't do any damage because we don't have time to charge it. But yeah. I do find the power spike between round 2 and round 3 to be really good because if you have a board, you attack at the end of round 2 and then you can go early and attack all at the end of round 3 or sorry, the beginning of round 3 and she usually dies from that. I like how despite being a dice game, usually luck is based on how you can manipulate most of them to mitigate bad rolls. Yeah, I haven't been in a situation where my dice roll has cost me the game and that's because mostly it just costs you like some amount of, what's it called? Meditating. Okay, cool. That is this. The other deck I think is a lot more straightforward and a lot more powerful because it's less planning based and more just like good units on tempo. It doesn't summon as powerful units, so your allies are better than your summons, your what are they called? Your conjurations. But let's give that one a shot. How long have we been streaming for? 2 hours? We can do one more. Let's go. So we can just pack this up. We just have to reset Scatha and we're off. Do we want to play? I think we're going to put one more focus on Scatha when we play with Arren because I think Arren has been just better in my hands. As much as I think I like the theme of charging and building units a bit more overall. Okay, we're going to play another kind of dice. We're going to remember we have our dice action on turn 1, huh? How many people in chat have played this? I'm assuming a fair few people have watched this. Have definitely already played Ashes. I think Ashes is kind of sick. Okay. The hubris threat change is going to get us for sure. I like the art in the game. The art in this game has always been like really striking. Like very obvious that it's as Ashes when you look at it. Hero name Arren, and then we'll do villain set 30. So Arren, we're going to be using a totally different kind of dice. They're called, I always forget what these things are called. What are these dice called? Phases of play. What are these dice called? It's not Astral. Okay, we're looking at Astral Magic. So these are 2 dice types that were new in this set. We have our own Conjurations. Oh, everything's a mess. So we have Frost Talons and Stellar Oracles. These are less interesting than the other ones, but Arren's a cool card. And Arren's ability is pretty good at like face value from what I've played so far. This is our first 5. 1, 2, 3. The game recommends your first 5. You can go around it. Yeah, Astral, thank you. I've played over 300 games of PvE Ashes. Get out. What has been your favorite thing to play against? Like, I own a 1 Chimera box. Should I buy another Chimera box? Like, what will give me the most value for PvE? Because I have a whole, like, just to show you, this is largely a collection of Ashes 1.5. But the last thing I bought since Ascendancy has been the Viros, the Red Rain. But like, I have so many like character decks. I just haven't played with most of these. But they're like all the old and new cards to some level. I even have a whole bunch of like, I forget how I got these. I think from Pat, but like some of the OP cards. And I'm pretty sure Lulu doesn't exist anymore. but I have a whole bunch of like OP cards. But yeah, this is my collection of Ashes as little as I play it. But all I have is all of 1.5, I think. And then Ascendancy and Red Rains. Still have only played with the precons. That's me too. I think I'm only going to be playing with the precons for a long time, and I think that's a plus. Lulu was redone. So the card, like her art exists as the character, but not that card, right? Siege is a very good one to get. Cool, I'll look into that. Damn, not right. Siege is awesome. How can you sell me on Siege? Siege of Lords of War. Everyone's saying Siege. Chimera is considered so good that the special mechanic for him was made a standard mechanic in the Dragonborn. And the included mono divine deck is great too. Who is the character in it? Is it the like the electric horse lady or whatever? All right, that goes there. So the setup's super simple. We shuffle the deck, ready spell 1 goes in there, we put ourselves to 30 health, and we go 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, because we're playing at a higher difficulty. We have threat 5, because we chose to increase the threat. So that just means there's more cards on the table to deal with. So again, it goes 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, and then we'll shuffle this and go back. I'm playing against it literally right now. Also, there's a website called Ashteki, which you can play against people online, but it also supports playing against chimeras online. I haven't used it. I know it doesn't support Dragonborn online at this point in time, but there's a way to play this game online if you want to, like in your browser. This is too easy. You can add +1 threat. I think we're just going to go ahead and add +1 threat because this has been a much stronger deck in my experience so far. At least the way I play against this matchup. Okay, so Arren. This is Arren Frostpeak. So Battlefield 7 is really big. Spellbore 3 is the lowest in the game, I think. Battlefield 7 is pretty good from my understanding. 15 health is also very low for Phoenixborn, as much as we ended the last game with like basically 15 extra health. So our ability is Ascend, fast action. So we're going to spend side action and exhaust, and we're going to spend a class die. So that's the most common die to deal 1 damage to target unit and opponent controls, and then place an astral die from your exhausted pool on this Phoenixborn. So 1 damage pings are really good because we saw there's a whole bunch of units that have 1 health on them. Either the quick strike unit or the shield unit. We can just knock those out for a single die, and that's great. I think the floor in this game for burn is usually 1 die for 2 damage, but 1 for 1 is good. Let alone the text is really good because we got to put an astral die on Arren. And what does an astral die do? That's a good question. Astral die are basically like a divine shield of sorts. They prevent the next 1 damage. So we can also do this as a fast action with our dice power. We can spend the owl die, that's the power die, and we can put it on any card we control, on any unit you control, not card. And then when a card with an astral die on it is dealt damage, you have to exhaust that die to prevent damage from being received. So functionally, when we fire Arren's ability, we heal 1 and deal 1 damage, which fast action for a single die seems really strong, especially when this game is about control. And we can use that on our units to trade up. So we can knock out a unit and then use a unit to trade up into another unit. So we can sometimes go like 1 for 3, which is really, really potentially strong. It is Odette, Demona, James, and Xander, the Phoenixborn in that set. I think I have those Phoenixborn, but I know. So this is the thing that I was confused by. When Phoenixborn are reprinted in products, is it the same Phoenixborn ability box? I think it is, right? Some of them have different main card abilities and stats, but the art is the same. So like, are there 2 copies of Xander or is there only 1 copy of Xander? Because I remember opening a product and being like, oh, I already have this character. Why is it reprinted? The Chimera deck gives you 2 bosses and 3 Phoenixborn that have been released, but have 1 shared precon deck instead of individual ones. Cool. Yeah, that's what I must have played against Red Rains, right? Okay, we'll give this a shuffle. Our setup, we're the first player. We have to roll a die. Our first 5, we'll talk about those in a second. We rolled okay. Okay, I say. 2 power die. Actually, really good. No basics, 1 basic. Generally, you never need basics because basics can be anything. So this is actually a really good roll. This is better than average, I would say. Oh no, 2 basics. Still pretty good. Actually, average. Average roll, not bad. All right, and now it's back to us and we go first. So the rules here are totally the same on the Phoenixborn side. Let's talk about our cards. We have 2 summons we can summon. So we have 2 cards that we can just put in for 1 action and then summon units. One of them costs 1 die, one of them costs 2 die. One of the units we can summon is Frost Talon. Frost Talon is just a little guy. One attack, one life, but has stalk, which says this unit cannot be guarded against, which is really good at knocking out one health units, specifically behind guards, and it also prevents Scatha from getting in the way, which is an annoying thing. Notice how we almost never attacked units last game? We let the units attack us. And that's because when you attack a unit, Scatha can intervene 1 out of every 3 times, and that's a really bad trade. The other card we have is Stellar Oracle, which should be a really good card. It's 2 die for a 2/2, which I think is okay. But when this unit comes into play, draw 2 cards. And if you do, place a card from your hand on top of your draw pile. Card draw in this game is like not as good as you'd think it is in most card games, because generally you're limited by your dice, not by your cards. That being said, getting more options is good, less so in your first 5, which you've planned out how you're going to spend your die. But I've actually really used this ability to take a card that I like, but I can't play this turn and set it up for next turn. And then I can plan that my next turn will always have that card. And I found that to be pretty cool. But it's a 2/2 we can summon every turn for 2 die, which is like fine. So those are summons. We then have really good allies, and this deck is very ally heavy, and I think all these allies are fantastic. Firstly, we have Skybreak Captain, which has always been my opening here. Notably, the left unit will be taking 1 damage when this thing progresses, which is fine, but Skybreak Captain comes in for 3 dice, which is very expensive. 3 attack, 3 life for cover 2 is good, especially when we can shield it to make it technically 4 attack. When this unit comes into play, you already play an Astral die on it, so it's functionally, 4 life already. And has a side action that at side action speed, you can, if this unit has an Astral die on it, increase the attack value of another unit you control by 1 for the remainder of the turn. So kind of like that Spark thing we had, but it allows you to trade up with other cards, which is quite nice, and it will be charged. This card, you technically want to protect the Astral die on it, which is really interesting because you want to use that Astral die before trading in with this, but you will lose that Astral die for sure if you're going to attack into a unit. But this means it actually can trade into a 4 health unit. It will die, but you can trade into a 3 health unit and still survive. And then it recovers too, which is really quite nice. The other card we have is Javelineer, not Javeliner, Javelineer, good choice. Cost a power die, which is expensive. Frost Throw, I love this card actually, and this is a really nice combo. So you can exhaust this as a main action to deal damage to a target unit opponent controls equal to this unit's attack value. So instead of attacking for this, which is just a 1/1, you can just exhaust this to ping something for 1. It's not an attack, so nobody can block with it. And then of course, if you make this have 2 attack by using Skybreak Captain's side ability, this can just do 2 damage out of nowhere. Now, I said this in the last game, and it's still kind of true. I don't love playing 1 health units on turn 1 or round 1, because when Ready Spell 1 advances, it deals 1 damage to all opposing players' units. So we'll just lose the Javelineer, which feels kind of bad, as much as sometimes you do just want to use it to trade into a unit. Of course you do. And if we actually get an Astral die on this, oh no, it'll still lose because Astral die is removed before this thing hits the progress. So that feels kind of bad. Finally, we have Whirlwind, which is another Ready Spell. Whirlwind, we play it for a side action and a class die, and then later we can exhaust this to lower 2 dice in a target opponent's active pool 1 level, and if your Phoenixborn has an Astral die on it, draw a card. Now, lowering the Scatha's dice is like fine, it just prevents the damage, and I know I said this before, I've played games where Scatha has never got a progress counter because you just keep lowering dice. Now, when it says lower dice, you only lower it by 1. So a class die becomes a basic die, but a power die will become a class die, which will still means it's locked up there in the track. Drawing 1 card is also fine. It's sometimes nice to have an ability like this that just allows you to pass 1 action, because we have 5 cards to flip. And if we pass while there's cards on the table, her dice go up, which feels bad. I do want to shout out, and I forget the name, but his unique card, the 1 unique card he has so far in the game, says if he has an Astral die on him, Arren just does 4 damage to a unit, which a 1 for 4 is absurd. The thing is, like, for the Whirlwind and for Arren's ability, you need to make sure you keep the Astral die on him, so it becomes a bit of like a timing issue, which is like kind of sick. So I'm just going to start simple. We'll play Skybreak Captain. We have 2 of these die, the power die, which we want to play are 2 power die units, which is Javelineer and Skybreak Captain. So we'll spend 1, 1, 1. When this unit comes into play, place an Astral die on it. And again, Astral Magic tells us that this die will prevent the next damage. That's all it does, but that's pretty good. Side action, I guess we'll just play Whirlwind while we can, and we'll spend a die on it. I think this hand does just do 10 dice, but I could also count, I guess. So we can exhaust this later as a main action to lure 2 dice, which we only want to do when there is 2 dice to lower. So we'll wait for a couple turns. Scatha, behavior. So she just rolls a die. Again, this does go pretty fast. That was a terrible roll, but it's just a basic, which means all we have to do is reveal because she can't attack. Aerial Strike, thank you. Yeah, Aerial Strike is so good. Rapid Flight. Okay, this is a really good card to ping, and we will as soon as maybe next turn, because this thing has Quick Strike. It'll attack our rightmost, which means it does deal damage, and then we do damage back if the thing she attacks survive. It is a very good target for us to hit with Arren Frostpeak here, which I think we just will, and then set up one of our summons. Okay, so we're just going to do Arren's text here while we can get some value from it. So as a side action, we'll exhaust this, and we'll spend a class die. to deal 1 damage to target unit. So Rapid Flight gets knocked out. She takes 1 because of Blood 1. And then we get a charge. Or not charge, but put a die. So now Arren will protect the next damage. As your main action, we'll just do summon Stellar Oracle, which is our summon. So we can summon a Stellar Oracle for 2, which will draw 2 cards, put 1 on top of our deck, which we might not play the Javelin near this turn. We'll see if there's more 1 health units. Back to Scatha, we roll the die. Okay, we don't mind that. So now we have to do Ready Spell, and then we reveal. So Ready Spell says we have to lower 1 of our dice. So I think we want to keep the power die. So we're going to lower a class into a basic. The power die matters for the Javelineer, I guess. We might not even play that. This is a 2 gem 1, so it's going to be bigger. And it's Dragon Rage. So this one comes in. It says when the unit attacks, it plays a status counter. It's going to attack for 3. Or sorry, attack for 4. So it will actually trade into our Skybreak Captain, and it's going to be attack the leftmost. So notably, none of our units have Unit Guard. Unit Guard is useful because if the Dragon Rage attacks, which can happen as soon as next turn if we roll a basic, it will attack the Skybreak Captain. If we have a unit with Unit Guard, like we did with the Spark Drones, we could block with the Spark Drone instead. Because we have no other units that have Unit Guard, the attack will go into our leftmost, so the only thing we can do is block with Arren, and if we block with Arren, Arren will take the damage instead, and we can only do that once per round, because Arren will be exhausted. First 5 is 9 dice, because you can see 3 cards, so you normally spend the last dice you need to put in an astral die on something. Oh, that makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so Dragon Rage could attack us. I don't want to lose a Skybreak Captain like that. So I think we will probably block with Arren if it shows up. If the Dragon Rage goes and gets exhausted, and then we draw one of those blockers, the one that says when it dies, unexhausted thing, we're going to feel pretty bad about that. So I think we're just going to do the Summon Stellar Oracle to get some more information. So we're going to exhaust it, spend 2, and we're going to summon an Oracle. It has to go to the right. When the Stellar Oracle comes into play, we have to, I think, draw 2 cards and put 1 on top of our deck. So second Whirlwind and an Aerial Strike. That's exactly what we wanted. So we're really hoping the Dragon Oracle doesn't fire. The Dragon Rage doesn't fire. Because if we fire Aerial Strike while we still have this token on us, we can deal 4 damage to an opposing unit, which will knock out the Dragon Rage. I don't think the Scatha has a unit that is 4 health. I might be wrong about that. So this just trades 1 die for 1 unit, which is very, very good, let alone Dragon Rage does functionally a lot of damage. So we have to put 1 on top of our deck. I don't want to put the Javelineer. It's not bad. I just really don't want to play the Javelineer into Ready Spell 1. I could be wrong about that. So I'll put it on our deck. I'm going to put it face up because we technically know it's there. And then that's our main side action. This is a die. This is a die. This is a die. We can't just play Whirlwind, so we will. So this is what I mean. We can focus the Whirlwinds. It doesn't really change anything. They're technically 2 Whirlwinds, but they're in the same slot. We exhaust them all, each individually. All right, it's Scatha. We want to really not roll a basic. Nice. That's actually okay. As much as it's going to hurt one of our dice, I think. All right, so we have to do the Ready Spell, and then we'll reveal. So Ready Spell 1 says we have to lower 1 of our die, so no choice there. And then we reveal the next card, which is another Rapid Flight, which we would love to knock out at instant speed, which we don't have a good way to do that. Okay, it's us. I guess our main action is just going to be Aerial Strike here. So we'll spend a basic. This is the unique Arren card. If your Phoenixborn has an astral die on it, deal 4 damage to target unit and opposing opponent controls. So we'll knock out the Dragon Rage, which does 2 blood to Scatha. Do we have a side action here? Whirlwind's the main action. We definitely could play that soon. The only other side action we have access to is Meditate, which I don't think we need to. We'll pass. Let's Scatha again. All right, same thing. We have to lower a die, so that hurts. We might have to Meditate 1. And she reveals the next card. Bird Hunter. Okay. This one's going for face. It attacks for 3 and it has Overkill 1. So that we can trade into the Skybreak Captain and feel pretty okay about it. I think the Skybreak Captain will survive the Ready Spell. Okay, it's us. We can lower 2 dice to draw a card. That doesn't really help that much. So I think we want to summon the Frost Talon because the Frost Talon can actually trade into the Rapid Flight before it goes. Because the Rapid Flight attacks first, it won't actually trade with the Stellar Oracle because the Stellar Oracle attacks for 2, but this thing has Quick Strike, so it does 2 damage before this can counter. So we'll just play the Frost Talon. There's no rule about the order of your spell board. So next turn we'll fire this to get a Frost Talon, and Frost Talon can sneak in 1 damage. It actually won't be fast enough in hindsight. It won't be fast enough because next turn we'll spawn it and then she'll attack. Oh, but she'll attack the Frost Talon, which That's bad. It has quick strike. I mean, that's better than hitting the Stellar Oracle. Yeah, that's fine. We'll pass. Arrow Strike is a side action, not a main action. Oh my god, it is. Oh, that's absurd. Or to use Arrow Strike, Arren needs to have the Astral Dice on him. He does, but I forgot this is a side action. So actually, as a main action, we'll play the Summon Frost Talon. Yeah, this is a side action, 4 damage. Oh, okay. Then main action, we'll play the Frost Talon. And now on our main action, we'll summon the Frost Talon. So we'll use our last die. Oh, I think we actually can't. Yeah, we have to meditate. We put the Javelineer on top of the deck so we know exactly that this is the card that we're going to meditate away. That's fine. So as a side action on this turn, we will meditate 1. So we'll discard the top card of our deck, or we could discard a Whirlwind. We'll discard the top card of the deck, and we'll change this to whatever side we want. And then as our main action, we'll use Summon Frost Talon. I can't believe that's a side action. And we'll spend the best die we have to put a Frost Talon into play. Frost Talon is just a 1/1 that can't be blocked as stalk. But that's good enough. It's Scatha. She might attack with a Rapid Flight, or she might reveal a card. All right. We can't do the ready spell because we have no dice to decrease. So we just skip it. And then she reveals her last card, which is a Radiant Flash. This card we can't do the text on, so we have to put a status token on her. So this requires us to lower a power die. If we can't, we put 1 status token. That status token will do 1 damage to the Skybreak Captain, which will knock off the thing, which is okay. All right, main action. We could pass. We also could Whirlwind. I think we're just going to Whirlwind here because we can. So we're just going to go ahead because I don't want to attack. Well, we could attack the Frost Talon to Rapid Flight, but then Scatha, oh, you can't block with Frost Talon actually. So Scatha won't get in the way. Frost Talon says it cannot be guarded against. So Scatha, is Scatha guarding? Because units can guard, but does Scatha guard? Like, does a Phoenixborn guard? I think it does. So Frost Talon can attack the Rapid Flight. Yeah, we need to do that because Rapid Flight has Quick Strike. Yeah, 100% we're going to do that. So as our main action, we're going to use Frost Talon to attack Rapid Flight. Now, there's no guard units, let alone Scatha, but I think Scatha can't guard this. I'm pretty sure. Otherwise, we'd have to roll this die and see what happens, but I'm pretty sure she can't guard this. I need to check if the wording is guard or whether she blocks or something else. Sometimes it's a different terminology. This is the part I'm like a bit hazy on. What page is this on? It's a bit later. Okay, declare attack. If it's a aspect, the Dragonborn may declare a guard, but this thing can't be guarded. So the Dragonborn would declare the leftmost as a guard, or if it cannot declare a shield aspect, the Dragonborn rolls a basic die. If a basic is rolled, the Dragonborn would declare itself as a guard. So I don't think she can roll the die, or does she still roll the die anyways? Guarding is when you step in front of something, and blocking is when it's defending the Phoenixborn. So this thing will just hit the Rapid Flight guaranteed, right? Ethan, how's it going, by the way? I think this just knocks out the Rapid Flight. So we do 1 damage to Rapid Flight. And notably, Rapid Flight's like Quick Strike only fires when it's attacking. So you can attack into it. Yeah, so she cannot guard. The hit is guaranteed. That's good because this thing you definitely want to trade aggressively into. And so we'll trade a cheap Conjuration into that. Okay, now it's Scatha. Her behavior means that she has to fire her poach ability. So she's going to do 1 damage to the leftmost, which hits Skybreak Captain, which loses the die because the die prevents the next instance of damage. Now the Bird Hunter is going to attack, and this is going to attack us for 3 damage. Yeah, I think we just take this to the face. I'm pretty sure if we attack Skybreak Captain into Radiant Flash. Oh, they both attack. We learned this rule. Okay, wait, these are both attacking at the same time. This is a rule that I haven't learned yet. But anytime a unit is attacking and it has the middle icon, which means it's attacking our Phoenixborn, technically both of these units attack at the same time. Now we can decide to guard with our face, which actually we can't because they're going to hit our face anyways, but we can decide to intervene with these characters. So we put the Skybreak Captain in the middle. It takes 2 damage, defeats this. It will heal 2 damage, which is perfect. The Stellar Oracle can't trade into the Bird Hunter, so I don't think we do. Because if we block the Bird Hunter, we take 1 damage. If we don't block, we take 2 damage. And this die is not worth anything. Oh, no, because it still protects it. I think, do we trade the Stellar Oracle? I don't think we trade the Stellar Oracle. I think we'd rather have a Stellar Oracle on the table, but I could be wrong about that. The other option is we just trade both of these into like straightforward, where the 3 trades into the tree, the 2 trades into the 2. This is what I don't 100% know, and I'm glad that we're playing on an extra threat, because if we had 1 fewer card here, this would be very easy. But I'm not 100% sure what we're meant to be doing on this board state. What do you think you do? Would you trade 1 for 1, or would you like value trade and leave the Bird Hunter there? Because the Skybreak Captain would survive, which seems good, because protecting allies is good. Conjurations I'm less precious about for obvious reasons. They come back. I think I'm going to let the Bird Hunter attack the Oracle. No, I think I'm going to take it to the face. It saves 2 damage for 2 health. No, a unit? That can't be right. Okay, so the Bird Hunter is going to attack us for 3. We'll take the die off, which prevents the damage. We'll take 2. Radiant Flash will attack for 2. We'll block with the Skybreak Captain, and we'll exhaust it to counter. So it does 2 to us, and we do 3 to it, which when it dies, it does blood 1. Block the flight with the Oracle. I didn't do that. Takes blood 1. That's that. Yeah, I think I like this. I think I'm okay with this. So now she's just going to pass because her units are exhausted. So we can just Whirlwind a couple times for fun, which is good fun. So we'll exhaust the first Whirlwind to lower 2 dies in our opponent's pool. So we're just going to push her off of her progress token. And we technically could have drawn a card here, but we don't have our unit. That's fine. We don't really need to draw a card. It basically just allows us to mulligan a bit smarter next turn. Goes back to her. She passes, comes back to us. We'll do the same thing. And this is what I mean. She will never get a progress counter. Just not. Then it goes to her, it goes back to us. Last thing we'll do is we'll attack with our Stellar Oracle. So our Stellar Oracle will attack for 2, and we're just going to go straight to face. So she'll take 2 damage down to 23. And then she passes, it comes back to us, and we pass. So 2 people have passed consecutively. It's the end of the round. So we clear all the counters. Our Skybreak Captain will actually recover 2 for the first time this evening because it can recover 2. And that's it. So then this trades over to her and she will become the first player. So we have to do all the stuff. So she would check for any cards that she has to remove. She has 1 aspect in play. So she'll get 1 status counter to deal with us. She will recharge her field, which mind you, we're playing on threat 5. So she'll refill up to 5. It's a 2, a 2, a 2, and a 2. That's bad. This is going to be a bad round. Then we have to do our Ready Spell 1, which is not too bad. We played around this a bit. So we discard this, deal 1 damage to all opposing players' units. So that's okay. We can still block with the Stellar Oracle. Skybreak Captain might heal through that. All right, we have to roll our dice, and then we just draw 5. Pretty straightforward. Value trade still progresses the board. Yeah, I could see it. It does. I like having the Skybreak Captain, but you're right. It might have been fine to clear a board because it technically plays around the Ready Spell. And then she goes first without any units on the board. I could see that being correct. Woo, 3 owls. Nice. We got 4 moons. And surprisingly 3 aspects, or 3 basics, excuse me. And we just draw 5. We haven't seen every card in the deck, so there'll be some nice surprises. Another Aerial Strike is really good to knock out the Bird Hunter, let alone maybe with all these 2 blood things, we might see something bigger. This requires us to get our Phoenixborn's ability. And very interestingly, like this only works when we have an Astral Die on us. The only ways to get an Astral Die on us, I think, are all side actions. Arren's ability is a side action. Astral Magic is a side action. So you actually have to protect yourself for 1 turn, which might not be that hard. But with the Bird Hunter targeting face, it could be a bit trickier. We have a Javelineer. Nice card. Pings for damage. Feels better on this turn. We have a Cirrus Ranger. I think I like this card, but I forget its text. So cost 2 die. When this unit comes into play, if your Phoenixborn has an Astral Die, which we can do fast into main action, deal 1 damage to target Phoenixborn an opponent controls and lower 1 die in the opponent's active pool 1 level. Okay, that's not that great. Lowering a die, we're already really good at that. This is a bit better in PvE or PvP, I imagine, but just dealing 1 damage to target Phoenixborn, I sleep. 2 for a 2/2 with 1 recovery is probably fine. I'm assuming that's like not bad. We have another Summon Stellar Oracle, which we can stack these. And mind you, we can still draw cards. And our last thing is another Skybreak Captain, which you know me, I play Skybreak Captains. We have to watch out though, because Ready Spell 2, when it fires, it pings our rightmost unit, and our rightmost units deal 1 to the opposing choice of their rightmost to earn the Phoenixborn, so we can still take it to the face. But Skybreak Captain technically wants to preserve the Astral Die. At Scatha, status goes, we take 1 to our leftmost, and then she rolls the die. All right, so we have to do the text, which is deal 1 to the rightmost or to our face. 1 to the rightmost destroys our Stellar Oracle, which feels like a bad use, so we're just going to take 1 to the face, and then she reveals a Seer. Okay. That's worth maybe dealing with. This is the one that will do 2 more damage to our face and then eventually attack our rightmost for 3. So that's one that we have to deal with sooner than later. Huh. What do we do here? Again, I hate attacking into the units because she can block with her face, and that's a really bad trade. So I'm assuming we play another Skybreak Captain here. If the Seer attacks us, it won't. So the things that can attack us next turn are the Bird Hunter and this card. Those are the only two things that can attack us next turn. We don't need to lower her die. The Javelineer can do 2 damage if we set it up with the Skybreak Captain. So I think we'll just play the Skybreak Captain. I'm not good enough to track all my dice at this point while playing on camera, but that'll come a time where we have to plan out our 10. I think I'm just going to vibes it. So we'll spend a main action. We'll do 1, 2, 3. And we're going to play the Skybreak Captain who comes in charged. Or whatever, Astraled. We're not going to side action to put a die on Arren because we know the Seer is going to take the die off. Because as soon as her turn starts, she hits us for 1 damage, and then we want to protect that unit. Or we want to protect that die specifically. Trying for the trade with the Oracle is fine here. You want to take 1 damage for the Oracle? Oh, you mean like attacking with the Stellar Oracle? I think attacking with the Stellar Oracle into the Seer is probably worth it. Because 2 out of 3 times it goes through and it prevents a bit of damage. Playing this is okay unless we get a right charger. But it technically, yeah, I could see us doing the Stellar Oracle into Seer. We probably should have done that. We'll probably do it next turn. I could see that being good. Because the other options, we can play her and then use her to ping this. But yeah, that's not very good because it takes too many turns to get that done. All right, so her turn, Seer goes off. We have to take 1 damage. And then we roll a die. Dragonborn versus Chimera. The ready spell progresses automatically. Ultimates fire when the die are not managed. Ultimates can be crippling and make the Chimera way more swingy. I feel like Arren is so good at controlling the dice that I probably wouldn't mind the Chimera text. Excuse me. Rolled the same thing twice. So we have to do 1 to our rightmost, which takes that off. We'll take it to the face. And then we flip the next card. It's another Seer. Okay, that's scary. All right, that's a lot of damage. It's back to us. As a main action, we're going to do an attack. Now, there's no guards on the table, which is another thing we could have risked by not going right now. But we will attack with the Stellar Oracle, and we're targeting the newest Seer. So this is the first time we've tacked an aspect naturally. So there's no guard units. So all Scatha is going to do is roll this die. If she rolls a basic, she'll block with her face. Nothing wrong with vibes. I mean, vibes are fun. It feels like we're at the difficulty where we can still vibes it. Please don't roll a basic. It's a basic. So Stellar Oracle is exhausted and she takes 2 to the face, which is terrible. Now that only happens 1 out of 3 times. So it's bad luck, but now it's back to her. She pings us for 1. She pings us for 1. So we are taking damage. We're down to 8. We're just about half health. She rolls a die. Okay. So that is the one where she reveals and attacks with it if able. And this is a bad attack. Dragon Rage. So this one attacks for 4. Says when this unit is declared as an attacker, place 1 status counter on the Dragonborn. So this is more damage. We're getting overwhelmed. 5 2s is an absurd. But this is now attacking, and it's attacking our leftmost. Now our leftmost can trade into this with 1 health left. I think that makes sense. So we will just exhaust it to counter. It'll do 3. It'll do 3. They trade. She takes blood 2. She's down to 19. And now, unfortunately, this status will knock out the Stellar Oracle, which feels pretty bad. We, in theory, could protect it by like putting a thing on it, which is not great. And then next turn, the Seer is doing 1 more damage. This is a lot of damage to deal with on this turn. Man, this aerial strike is really hard to use. We have to wait for the Seers to finish. Okay. What do we want to do here? This is the thing too, is if we play another unit, this Seer will no longer attack the Skybreak Captain, which we wanted to do. It'll attack whatever we put here. And whatever we're going to put here actually can trade into it. Like we can put the Cirrus Ranger. The thing is the Cirrus Ranger doesn't have text because we don't have an Astral token, right? Yeah, so we could do side action and then put this on here, but then we're going to lose the thing to the Seer anyways. So like we don't have a lot of ways to put tokens on us, and we need tokens on us. I guess we're summoning an Oracle because an Oracle will trade into the Seer. So let's summon an Oracle and maybe get a better hand. So summon Stellar Oracle, we'll exhaust, we'll spend 2. Notice how round 1 was about managing our dice because of the Ready Spell 1, and then Ready Spell 2 is about damage. So we'll summon an Oracle. It'll be our rightmost, so it'll trade well. Did we put an Oracle in the wrong pile? I think, oh no, this is our second Oracle. So when our Oracle comes into play, we draw 2, and we can put 1 on top of our deck. We have to. I don't think we're going to need another copy of this. So we're okay meditating that. Yeah, summon an Oracle is a good trade. All right, it's Scatha. She's going to poach us, and then the Seer is going to fire. So poaches deal 1 damage to the leftmost, so this Oracle is dead. At least that's not to her face. And then the Seer does 1 damage to us. So we take 1, we're down to 7. So now we're more than halfway dead. Okay, she rolls a die. Eventually we can roll these die down. We probably should do that next turn. She rolls a basic. That's the maybe okay. So Bird Hunter is just going to attack. This is the only one that has the face forward, so it's going to attack us for 3. And if it kills something, that will be technically overkill. So the only way we can trade into this is put the Skybreak Captain in the way. We could take 3 to the face. I don't think we want to. We also could technically have a unit here. We haven't seen any of the guard units, which would ready the Bird Hunter. So I'm going to exhaust the Skybreak Captain to put in the way. So Bird Hunter does 3 to Skybreak Captain. Skybreak Captain will block one of the damage, and take 2. So its recovery might work, and it's going to return fire for 3 damage, which defeats the Bird Hunter, which does blood 2, and overkill doesn't fire. So we're down to 17. Okay, pretty good. So now these Seers are going to attack into the Stellar Oracle, so that's fine. We don't have to play more units. This thing we have to protect. A status unit would blow it up. That's bad. As much as we could technically get an Astral on it. It feels like this summon Stellar Oracle is not that good right now. The Javelineers could like work on the Seers and actually start to trade up, which is good. Notably, when Ready Spell 2 is leaving, we do 3 damage to our leftmost unit, which means the Skybreak Captain cannot survive. So the Skybreak Captain is doomed. So we're okay trading into it if we need to, because we can't protect it. There's no way to put a unit on the left, and we can't prevent it from taking 3 damage. Okay, I think we're just going to Whirlwind. Technically, Whirlwind, we know what we're drawing into, so we could meditate first because we don't want to draw this card. That actually might be correct. In terms of meditation, we need Owl. Doesn't matter. I think we just meditate to not draw this. I think we meditate just to not draw this. So my side action is going to be meditate. So I'm going to discard 1 card from the top of the deck to change whatever, a die to the best die we can. Then I think here we're allowed to Whirlwind. So we're going to exhaust this. Lower 2 dice. Oh, we only draw a card if we're charged. Hold on. I forgot about that. So let's unmeditate for a second. Our ability on our hero only does 1 damage, which doesn't line up well. It will eventually line up well with the Javelineer. We don't want to play another unit because the Seer trades into this. We could trade into the Cirrus Ranger, but we don't really want to. So we want to do like a passive turn here. So that's probably still just do a Whirlwind. So I think we're just still going to do a Whirlwind because we can. Yeah, we have 2 Whirlwinds. This is fine. So we're just going to lower. We're just going to lower 2 die, and that's it. That's fine. If we pass, we have to increase the die because there's a face down aspect card. So we'll just do that, and we're not going to do anything else. I think that's good enough. Actually, we'll still just go ahead and side action, get rid of that, and meditate. And the next turn, we can do maybe a 1 damage ping and then go for that, especially if this is the shield card, which would be the best time. All right, she rolls a die. Cirrus PB ability does 2 damage. I think Cirrus has to target a Phoenixborn. As an Astral die, deal 1 damage to target Phoenixborn. An opponent controls. Yeah, it doesn't hit units. The Cirrus is just a face damage card, which I don't like it for board control. And I do think board control is way more important than face damage when it comes to PvE. All right, ooh, interesting. So she's going to flip and attack. Oh, we knew it couldn't be a block card because it's a 2. So it's a Bird Hunter. The Bird Hunter is going to attack us. And because the Bird Hunter is hitting our face, well, it's hitting our face. So the Bird Hunter is coming in for 3. We can guard with the Stellar Oracle, which means we would take 1 instead of 3, and we lose the Stellar Oracle. We want the Stellar Oracle to trade. Oofa doofa. We got punished. That's really bad, because if we didn't roll this, this would have just spawned, and then the Seer would attack the Stellar Oracle, and then we could have traded this away. So unfortunately, we're just taking 3 damage. I'm not going to block with the Stellar Oracle, because we need the Stellar Oracle to trade into the Seer. So we're going to take 3. Down to 4. Hubris. I think that's good enough. So the Stellar Oracle can knock out a Seer. The Cirrus Ranger can trade into a Seer. And then we can do Javelineer plus Arren to deal with something. We'll figure it out. We just don't want to play a unit because the Stellar Oracle still trades into the Stellar Oracle. Honestly, summoning the next Stellar Oracle is pretty good on that turn because we would trade into a Seer. That was probably wrong. I think we wanted a Stellar Oracle. The other thing we can do is like get a Frost Talon and trade into the Bird Hunter with a Javelineer or something like that. But we still don't want to play a unit. So we'll use Arren's text. So we'll spend a class die. We'll deal 1 damage to a unit. Again, these units don't heal, so we can just do tempo damage to them. And then we can play a die on us. Yeah. So whatever. What one do we ever want to do one damage to? I think the Bird Hunter. Okay. Now it's Scatha. Scatha has to attack with the leftmost, so the Seer is going to attack. It's going to attack our rightmost for 2, and we'll trade with the Stellar Oracle. So we do 2 blood. She's down to 15, halfway. We're a bit more than halfway, let's be honest. Especially it sucks because now this die is useless. Oh no, we should have done this here because we have the 4 damage burst in hand, excuse me. An aerial strike I don't think can hit a Phoenixborn. Yeah, target unit, yeah. So we definitely should have put it there. Yeah, we're going to be okay. We're going to be fine here. This does 3 damage to the leftmost. That's totally acceptable. Okay, so now we'll just start pinking damage. So this Seer is injured. It's our turn. We can't knock it out fast, can we? No, but we can trade into the Summon Frost Talon. So we'll summon a Frost Talon. We'll exhaust this and spend 1. So we'll summon a Frost Talon. So that will trade into the Seer. And as a side action, we'll just go ahead and aerial strike. So this just does 4 damage because we have a thing on us. So we'll knock out this Bird Hunter for blood too. We'll be fine. We'll be fine. Round 2 is the bad round. Round 3 we'll come back. Now the Seer goes. The Seer attacks for 1. We'll block with the Frost Talon. Trades. Takes 2 more. Down to 11. And now we basically have open board to do whatever we want. The issue is like what we have is Javelineers, which are not that good. We can do the Cirrus Ranger, which can lower some die. This is 2 dice. These are both 1 dice each. Now the Javelineers can't attack face, right? Like their ability doesn't attack face. It deals 1 damage to target unit. So I still think that's okay. And we can still Whirlwind to draw a card. So I think we're going to start there. So we're going to Whirlwind. We're going to exhaust our second Whirlwind. So we can lower 2 dice by 1 level. So they just go down. We draw a card. That's fine. We can just put those on the table. Now, these cards, we can always meditate with them, but it's nice to put them in the spell board because when you meditate, you can actually discard your spell board, which is technically less disastrous than discarding cards from hand or cards from the top of your deck, which you might draw later that turn. Okay, so then we're just going to do everything that we can do that makes sense. We're going to play Javelineer. We're going to play Javelineer. Okay. We're going to focus Summon Stellar Oracle. We're going to focus Summon Frost Talon. And then the 2 Javelineers are going to attack. Javelineer. How do you spell this? And so they're both just going to attack for 1 damage. So down to 9. Ranger's ability and then swing to face? Ranger's ability. Ranger's ability does 3 damage. Is that better? Because we're technically doing 1 fewer damage here. But having these on the table seems nicer. You're right, we can play the Cirrus Ranger. Lowering a die is not very useful. This technically does slightly more damage. But these, I think, are harder to play overall because they require better dice from us. That maybe this is okay. But I could see it being the case. I think the worst thing is we're wasting this die. Like, we could have healed 1 this turn, but we didn't. Because we needed to do our 4 damage. We're always on the back foot. I think we're just going to pass. And we're going to hold on to the Cirrus Ranger. We'll see after. Mind you, you can hold on to or discard this after you roll your die, you decide. So if we roll terribly or amazingly, we can either choose to shoot the moon or keep this or not. So this clears. This heals 2 as much as it's going to die in a moment. This all on exhaust. We undo our dice. This goes here. We are now the first player. It's Scatha. She has no aspect, no statuses. She feels her board. 2, 1, 2, 1, 1. We saw a lot of 2s, so as long as we survive that turn, we should be pretty good. Ready spell 2 fires. I think it just knocks our leftmost for 3 damage. So deal 3 damage to your leftmost. So the Skybreak Captain is knocked out. It's been there since turn 1. And then it's up to us. So we roll our die. The Javelineers are better with the Skybreak Captain because we can make its stats better. And I think, no, that was the second Skybreak Captain. So that was new that turn. So that's the nice way that makes Javelineer better is increasing its stats. We only have 1 more way. You have enough draw. There's no need to pitch the Cirrus. I think you're right. We have all this Whirlwind draw. We should be okay. And I do think we're just going to get a token on us, like aggressively, because we need to not die. All right, we're rolling a lot better. 3 power is great. 4 class, 3 aspect. Cool. So we'll hold on to this and just draw 4 more. Dodge. This is a really cool card. This is our, I think, 1 reaction. It says you may play the spell after an opponent declares attackers. Place an astral die from your exhausted pool on a unit you control, not a Phoenixborn, on a unit. And then for the remainder of this turn, astral dice you control do not exhaust. Prevent damage from being received when using this dice power effect. So It's okay. It is a good die, that's for sure. But it basically allows you to prevent 1 damage and then keep the counter, which I think is the best when it comes to trading up, or so trading into 1/1 specifically. But probably the best when you have a Skybreak Captain, who is the only, I think, a unit that can actually use an Astral Die in more than one way. Gust Spear, what's this? Alteration for unit. When attaching the spell, lower 2 dice on a target opponent's active pool 1 level, attack +1. I mean, it's a side action, so you can suddenly trade up. But lowering dice seems so much more valuable in PvE or PvP than PvE. We have so many ways to control dice already. Another Summon Frost Talon and another Gust Spear. This is not a great hand. We really need to draw a lot with our oracles and our whirlwinds to get somewhere. But like, this deck plays very different than the last deck, and I do appreciate both of them, which is cool. Okay, so immediately we could technically do 3 damage to Scatha and drop her to 6 health. That's not enough, so we'll probably have to play for the board to some extent. We don't want to do Arren immediately because Arren can ping for 1 damage, as much as the 2 gem cards never have 1 health, I don't think, from what I've seen. So probably the best thing we can do is put in Oracle, just because it's a 2/2, which might trade into something, and we can draw 2 cards and see what happens. I think that's usually how we should start this, because none of these cards are really that good, and Cirrus Ranger needs a thing on us. So we'll just summon a Stellar Oracle. Man, that's so hard for me to say. So we'll spend basic and class to Oracle. Has to go on the right. When we summon it, we draw 2, put 1 on top. The Ranger. Retreat. Oh, this card, I like this card so much. This is so good when you can use it on the Skybreak Captain. This is a really nice action spell. It's just as free as it gets, so just a side action. It says, return an exhausted ally you control and any cards attached to the card's owner's hand. That is so good on the Skybreak Captain, which is a very expensive card, but when it comes in with this charge again. It allows it to do its side action again, let alone it can just heal it and unexhaust this. Like, this is a healing card and it's an unexhausting card. Very, very, very powerful. As much as like playing 2 Skybreak Captains is 6 of you 10 die. I like that card a lot. I think we're gonna put Summon Frost Talon on top of our deck because I don't see us wanting that. All right, it's Scatha's turn. Nothing to do besides roll. Oh, we could have done the side action. Nah. Crown. So Ready Spell 3, I think, gives us a choice. So we have to be careful of our damage. So Ready Spell 3 says we can either discard a card from our hand, the top of our deck, or deal 1 damage. We're just gonna head and discard the top card of our deck because it doesn't matter. And then we don't take the damage. Card we flip. Bird Hunter, okay, this one does do damage. Has 3 life, so it's gonna be hard for us to deal with this one, and it attacks face if it does attack. Okay, so attacks face, which means we want to be able to trade into it with a 3 damage attack. So like putting a Gust Spear on the Stellar Oracle may be a good trade up. We'll end up taking 1 from the Bird Hunter anyways, but I don't want to do Arren's text at this point. Oops, that's not a good thing to do. Yeah, that's not great. What do we do here? What are we meant to do here? This is not the hand we want to deal with this. Whirlwind will matter next turn because she might get a counter soon. The Javelineers can do 1 damage for a single exhaust, which, like, okay. We have no way to make them stronger. And then you can already see the sort of like combos you can do with these decks. Like the thing that did the spark drones in the other deck says you can give a unit +2 attack if this card is charged. So you can put Javelineers with your Artifice dies and then charge something and then shoot something. Like that's a really nice combo that you already have access to if you want to start doing deck building. I can see that being quite nice. Yeah, 3 health going to our face is very, very scary. So we need a block with a unit. Ideally, we trade into it. Attacks for 3, which means a Stellar Oracle with an Astral die does not even trade. So what do? What do? I think we just have to put a Gust Spear on this and take 1 damage. Guess who's summoning another Stellar Oracle? We have to remember we have 4 damage. We could go face. If we can get that to 9 damage, we can win. So we're going to summon another Stellar Oracle. So cost 2. We have, this is our last Oracle. So it has to go to the right. We'll draw 2. Retreat and dodge. I'm going to put the dodge on top. I don't see that being great. Retreats says return an exhausted ally. So the only thing we can retreat is a Javelineer. That seems even worse. So we'll put that on top. We only have like 1 better ally here. I guess we have a Cirrus Ranger, but so currently on our table, we have 2, 4, 5, 6 damage. And then we'll just go ahead and put a Gust Spear on the rightmost one. So we'll give this a Gust Spear just so it can trade in. So that takes a 1 die from our deck. I don't like this turn so far. Can win until they flip a defender. If they flip a defender, we'll just ping it with Arren. It should be okay. And then we have a nice way to get a die. So the Stellar Oracle says +1. And when attaching the spell, lower 2 die in a target's opponent active pool 1 level. So that's good. Buys us a bit of time. And eventually we can whirlwind. We just want to find something that is a good target for 1 damage. So maybe we actually should have pinged this for 1 damage so we can trade into it with an Oracle and not done the Gust Spear. That actually might have been better. We ping it for 1 so the Oracle trades into it as opposed to trading an Oracle with a Gust Spear. Yeah, that has to be better. Hold on. No, let's say it's not better because we want to be able to ping. That's the only ping we have as much as we can grab the Talons because we have to be able to ping a guard unit. We haven't seen a guard unit yet, so we'll still do that. All right, she rolls a die. Okay, she's just attacking. So this Bird Hunter just attacks us in the face, which means we should trade. So it's going to attack in the face. We're going to block with their Stellar Oracle, and we're going to counter. So it takes 3. We take 3, and it has overkill 1, so we take 1. We're down also to 3 health. The Stellar Oracle is destroyed, which means we can summon. Oh, actually, we have none more, but she goes down to 7 health. Okay, so she's down to 7. Our board does 5 damage. I don't think Arren can attack face, right? Deal 1 damage to target unit. Yeah, so we have 5 damage on this table. So I don't want to use Arren to charge Arren because it's wasting a die. But in theory, we could charge Arren with Astral Magic and then play Cirrus Ranger. Like, we're at the point where the Cirrus Ranger damage actually matters. I think we play the Cirrus Ranger. When this unit comes into play, if your Phoenixborn has an Astral die, like, that's so important we get an Astral die. The issue is the only way we can give ourselves an Astral die is by doing the Astral Magic ability, which, like, probably still fine when we have another Cirrus Ranger and we can threaten lethal. So I'm going to side action put an Astral die on Arren. So this puts it on a die on a unit or Phoenixborn, and then we'll spend our main action playing the Cirrus Ranger, which look at our dice go. So Cirrus Ranger comes into play. So now we're going to be doing a bit of like chip damage here. So Aerial Ambush, when this unit comes into play, if your Phoenixborn has an Astral die, deal 1 damage to a target Phoenixborn. So the villain goes down to 6, and then we can lower 1 die at 1 level. So at least, it's again, never going to charge the status token. That's our turn. She rolls a die. Okay, basic. So it would attack if possible, unless it reveals the leftmost. This is the guard card that we played around. Now, I think we run into a bad spot here. We actually can't ping this, right? Oh, we can't with the Javelineers. Okay, that's fine. But in theory, you have to watch out, because if I'm not mistaken, we can't do Arren's text here. Because Arren says deal 1 damage to target unit and opponent controls. We actually can't do that. But then it says place an Astral die from your exhausted pool on this Phoenixborn. That we technically can't do that part because every card can only have 1 Astral die on it. But I think you're allowed to do the first part without doing the second part, so that's fine. That's okay. So we're going to do the Javelineer as our main action. We're going to exhaust her, deal damage to target unit and opponent controls. And because that's not an attack, the Scatha, I don't think can guard for guards, but I might be wrong about that. We'll just knock out the Aegis Feather, which means this 1 damage goes to her face and she takes blood 1. So she's at 5 and our board has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 damage. So wait, could we just won? Wait, we can just win. Wait, we just win here, right? We just win. Are we allowed to attack her while there's a guard in play? Man, I don't have all the blocking rules locked down yet. I do check this booklet a fair bit. So attack the Phoenixborn. For each attacker, your opponent must declare 1 exhausted unit they control to block that attacker, and they block left to right. Yeah, I think we just win. And so aspect, the Dragonborn may declare guard if the attacked aspect is not a shield aspect, but if we're attacking the Dragonborn, she blocks with the shield icon, and she will block from left to right. So I don't know what that means, whether she blocks her left to our left or whether her left does the best block possible. But if I'm not mistaken here, as our main action, if all we do is attack her Phoenixborn with all of our units, she is overwhelmed. Right? Because we're attacking for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and she has 5 health. So I think we just attack with everyone. She has to block with the guard unit. The guard unit will trade with the Javelineer. She takes 1. Which, excuse me. So she would be at 5 because I didn't undo the damage. And then we hit for 2, 3, 4, 5, which is lethal. We also could have done 1 more damage by attacking her Gust Spear. Even if she blocks the Cirrus Ranger or she blocks a 2 health, as long as we played the Gust Spear first, which we could, we would still get lethal. But all it says in the book is that she blocks from left to right, which I don't know if she assigns her leftmost into our leftmost, or whether she assigns her leftmost first to the most advantageous. I can't tell. But that's it. She hit 0. That was closer. That was a fair bit closer. We had a really bad round too. We really did. We obviously didn't play perfectly because, of course, we're not going to do that yet. But the round 2 where we had the 2-2-2-2-2, like that's pretty rough. And I think at the early turn where we could have traded both units had a really big knock-on effect, but we didn't know it'd be a 2-2-2-2-2, which felt pretty rough. But we got there. And yeah, I do feel like always in round 3, you have a board at the end of round 2, and then you can usually overwhelm by just pushing hard because she doesn't get enough units fast enough to be able to block proactively. And even if she does block, she ends up losing health. Yeah. Cool. We got there. 3 health. Not too bad. And that's a really big difference. Like you can feel it. Our hero there had 15 health as opposed to 18. That's a big difference, specifically with how freely we're taking attacks to the face. We might have mismanaged this token. Technically, we have 4 health this turn because this token will block 1, and we could have put another token back. So I would say this turn we actually had 5 health left because we definitely wanted to refill our hero ability at some point. But that's Arren. They play very, very differently. Arren's much more about board control, pinging, and aggression, where the other one's more about setup and building and like moving your charge units around, which is kind of sick. That is Ashes Ascendancy. You technically have seen everything that comes into the box. It comes in the box as much as you can do deck building. But Scatha is in the box. If you play 2 players, there's specific rules. She has twice as much health. The setup is only slightly different with the stamina card, which hasn't shown up yet. But the other big difference is that there's actually 2 kind of lines, right? Like one player has whatever threat amount of enemies in front of them, and the other player has threat amount enemies in front of them. I forget how it works. I don't know if you take your turn simultaneously or not, but it goes you, then the Dragonborn, then you again. But I think you both do your side and main actions, and you can actually attack each other's aspects in like a altruistic way, which is probably pretty cool, as much as I haven't tried this out yet. Yeah, neat game. I have a huge collection of this, and I'm excited to dive into it to be able to play all the precons I have. I don't think I'm at the point where we're going to be doing deck building, and that's totally fine. Again, every time you buy a deck in this game, it comes as a preconstructed object, which is like pretty sick. But that should get you through it, and hopefully you learned the game at the same time and maybe had a bit of fun. I think that's mostly it. Thanks so much for hanging out. This is a Marvel Champions channel. We did just do a stream on Sunday. You can watch the VOD where we played Nova. It was a lot of fun. We'll be back next Sunday. I think we're going to be playing Protection Spectrum, which is one of the heroes I played the least. So excited to do that. You take your turns at the same time, and then the Dragonborn takes its turns one at a time against each player. Okay, that tracks, yeah. And you can interweave your mains and your side actions if it matters, which I think that's cool, that you want to talk to your teammate and try and make it make sense and get some cooperation in there. One thing I'm going to say before we wrap, of course, is if you like this content, the best way that you can support the channel is if you want to leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel if you want. I can't promise that we're going to be playing more Phoenixborn on this channel with any amount of regularity, but if the feedback is really strong, we'll probably consider jumping into this every once in a while. I definitely want to be diving in deeper into my collection, and this can make sense. But yeah, if you do like content like this, if you want to take a second to leave a thank you, that's incredibly appreciated. So the precons in this box are good. Older precons feel closer to Marvel Champions precons. Get out. Because that's actually a good question. I wanted to ask that. These precons feel really good. Like, I think I could see what cards I would change. And it's just like, there's some cards that I don't think should be 3 ofs. They're kind of like 2 ofs. I'm going to say something silly here, but like dodge and retreat, these cards are good, but they feel a bit more situational. In the other deck, the card that says like, you can, charge this to put 2 damage on it. If this is charged, do 2 damage. Or if this card is charged, give a unit +2 attack for this turn. That feels the way that I'm playing the precon, like a card you want in your opening starting 5, but you don't need more copies in the deck because I have no reason to focus it, the way I'm playing at least. And that's a really cool thing. With your starting 5, you can put a 1-of in the deck that will always show up because it'll be part of your opening hand. I think that's really, really neat. And I don't know if this game has ways for you to attack your opponent's like spell board so they can't like be greedy like that. My guess is that doesn't seem like a thing this game would do. But like, yeah, you can do a lot of deck building with that alone. The only I would say issue is that if you want to add more cards that interact with these Astral or Artificer dice, they don't exist. So you're either going to have to put cards in your deck that only use basics, or start, not only playing 10 Astral, 10 Artifice dice and playing some amount of other dice, whether it's like Sympathy or Time or Ceremonial, whatever it is. Retreat is better for Issa. Interesting. Yeah. Return an exhausted ally you control and any cards attached to it to card's owner's hand. Oh, that's really good with the guy who puts 2 charge counters, right? More is coming pretty soon. I looked quickly at the Plaidhead website. I know they're talking about the upcoming decks having nature dice in them. I think they also have some artifice die cards, right? I think I saw some cards that were like nature but artifice, like plants that you have to charge but are also just like plants. I think that's a really cool theme. So I'm going to look at to see what that stuff is. But yeah, that stuff comes out. Ashes is really good at releasing stuff. Mind you, they've been doing this for over a decade at this point, which is buck wild. Cool. Yes, yeah, that's neat. That's really, really neat. Yeah, she has some really good enter the board effects. That's mostly it. I definitely would be looking forward to more Dragonborn. I don't know if those are coming out. I don't know, Corey, if you can tell me if that's the case or not. But yeah, maybe you can just catch him on some chimeras. Ironically, he is featured in the art. Is it worth buying older product or waiting then? Uh, it depends on what older product is. If you can find Ashes 1.0, that stuff is to the point. If you're playing 1.5, some of that stuff has just been rotted out of existence, and then you have to get the cards that fix those cards. If you want to play 1.5, which you don't have to, mind you, people enjoyed old Ashes back in the day. I picked up a lot of my collection between Ashes 1 and 1.5, and I picked it up for very cheap because it was just, you know, on sale and stuff, and then I had to update in 1.5, which I was happy to do. But if you find like the precon decks, the ones that say Ashes Reborn specifically on the packages, those are still great products from my understanding, and each one of those is a precon deck. The only thing you have to watch out is that you will buy, if you just buy a precon and you don't buy some sort of core box, you will be missing the dice. So just make sure you're not picking up a precon that requires time dice, because for that to be good, you have to buy the box that time dice came in. I couldn't tell you which box that is. You'd have to research it. But otherwise, any Reborn product is totally compatible with everything that's been happening for the last, I want to say like 6 years. Next Dragonborn is being released in the next Ascendancy package late this month. Oh, or early next month. I mean, that's soon. That's sooner than I thought it'd be. Good for y'all. Along with the Artifice Natural Precon and Astral Natural Precon. Oh, very cool. Okay, so that's coming up pretty soon. Sick. But yeah, I think you can pick up whatever you want. Also, if you want to leave comments, if you watch this later, if you're watching the VOD, you can leave comments. I'll do my best to do my research. But we know people around this that know more about Ashes than I do, that's for sure. There's also a Discord channel, which I'm a member of, as much as I'm not like really doing much in there. But there's a Discord channel where the active community hangs out. I'm assuming if you search Ashes Discord, you'll find it. That's mostly it. Thanks so much for hanging out. Tomorrow we're going to be streaming on Velma's Diner if you want to be playing some Arkham Horror. Thursday night is Netrunner night like it usually is up on the Metchball grid. And Sunday we'll be back playing some, on this channel, playing some Marvel Champions. We've really become busy playing cards on the internet. And it's been good fun. So thanks for joining us. That's mostly it. Leave a like on the video and we'll catch you in the next one. Thanks for the enthusiasm. Yeah, I've been really stoked. I picked this up and I was like, wait, this is actually pretty charming. I want to play more of this. And I think we're going to continue to like crank up the difficulty until the wheels really fall off these precon decks, because the precon decks can like hold their own for sure. And you do have to make good decisions, which I appreciate that. Like every game I make at least 2-3 decisions that I feel really happy about and they really pay off. And that's kind of all I want in a card game, huh? Thanks so much for hanging out. We'll catch you in the next one. Take care, y'all.